Hey, what's up, everybody? We are back with some new content today, straight at you from viewer request land. I've had a number of requests coming in for new content, new videos, lots of questions, and based on a lot of the questions I get, I kind of feel like when BioWare does its initial tutorial, kind of walk through, your first, 60 to 90, 120 minutes of the game. The pop-ups that you get are great, but it really doesn't go into a lot of detail that would really be helpful to have, not just on your first playthrough, but on your second playthrough. I've definitely gotten questions from people who are well into the game, and they're asking about things that you normally will pick up on very early on, and if you don't, it's honestly because BioWare is just not explaining things very well and not giving you the detail you need. So I thought maybe a full beginner's guide with tips and explanations that are a little deeper than what BioWare goes into would be helpful, and so that's what we're going to get through today. Um, it's going to be a bit of a long video, so definitely grab a drink, grab some snacks, put your feet up, and enjoy. And as always, thanks for watching. Take care. Alright, everybody, let's get started on our Dragon Age Inquisition beginner's tutorial. Now, right now, we are right at the beginning of the game. I have chosen to play as a dwarf rogue using a bow. So that's our basic setup now, and we will head out. So you will see some
Open the gate. We are heading into the valley.
you're going to see some pop-ups on the screen that are little tooltips that come up to guide you along the way from BioWare. I'm going to delve a little bit deeper into some of those, and along the way I am going to allow the conversations to play out as they normally would in the game. I'm not going to skip through anything. As this is a video, feel free to fast forward. But if anybody actually enjoys that content, I want to give them the option to watch it straight through without me interrupting all the dialogue. So, and I also have turned on subtitles for all the dialogue for anybody out there who is hearing impaired. They enjoy the game without sound. That way, they can also see what's going on. So, between the subtitles and the closed captioning on the YouTube videos, hopefully this is something everybody can take advantage of. So we'll get started. If you check out your map, now it's the M key for PC users. I'm currently using a Xbox controller on the PC, so it's got the Xbox interface to it. The Xbox and the Xbox and PS4 interface controllers are fairly similar, so I won't go into too much about the PS4. I'll stick to the Xbox and the PC and make any comments where it's appropriate if something's going to be a little bit different on the PC. But on the PC, hit the M button, that'll launch your map. On the Xbox and PS4, if you hit the left directional key on your D-pad, that'll actually launch you right into the map. Just so happens that that got overlooked on the PC's controller mapping, so I have to actually bring up this screen and then go to Quest Map, and that gives me my local map. But if you bring up your local map, you're going to see this little orange arrow pointing towards this hairy eyeball over here. And if you check it out, this is the quest you are currently on. Down at the bottom of the screen, you see something called Journal. Now, Journal is actually what keeps track of all of your quests. So I'm going to press the X button now. That should just be something you click on the PC, and it will bring up your journal. Now, under current quests, you're going to see all of your current quests listed, and they're going to be listed out by zone, mostly. And so you're going to be various zones that you travel to in the world of Thedas, and it's going to set up all the different quests underneath the various zone locations. That way it kind of breaks them into categories for you. You'll also find completed quests listed out over here. So if you're wondering, did I do that quest? You're on a forum and somebody's talking about a specific quest. You can come over here and check out where the completed quests are and see if it's something you have or haven't done. Maybe you did it early and you forgot about it. And then in the middle is collections. There are a number of collections in the game that the game itself tracks. This could be finding various regions in a given zone that you go to. There are a number of landmarks that you drop to identify areas in a zone, and each zone has a specific number of landmarks that you kind of quote-unquote collect throughout your travels. There are just a number of different collections that this will help you track and let you see how many you have of the total ones that are available. Well, let's go back to the map here. So this shows you a quest objective that you have marked as your current quest. When we get a little bit further into the tutorial, I will point out a little bit more advanced map controls. But for right now, we'll just stick with the fact that we know here's the direction we need to head based on the flashing indicator on the map that also shows up. If you look down the left-hand side of the screen on your mini-map, you can see that hairy eyeball over there to the west that we're going to be going towards. So we will head out and continue on our way. And I will do my best not to talk over any of the ambient conversation that goes on as well, just so you get the full effect.
Maker, it's the end of the world!
The pulses are coming faster now. The larger the breach grows, the more rifts appear, the more demons we face.
How did I survive the blast?
They said you stepped out of a rift, then fell unconscious. They say a woman was in the rift behind you. No one knows who she was. Everything farther in the valley was laid waste, including the Temple of Sacred Ashes. I suppose you'll see soon enough.
Alright, so we're going to hop on this bridge. It's going to drop out from underneath us, and we are going to get our first taste of combat.
Stay behind me!
Yeah, go ahead and pick it up. Come on, you know you want to. Alright, so combat. Your first introduction to combat is going to be very basic here. You've got auto attacks, and then you have attacks that come based on special abilities. If you're playing on the PC, you have a list of your special abilities laid out for you at the bottom of your screen, horizontally, with numbers assigned to each one of them corresponding to the numbers at the top of the keyboard. Not the F keys, but the actual numeric keys, 1 through 0. You can see that on the right here, if you're playing on PlayStation or Xbox, you are going to have a 4 abilities that you can choose from based on keys that you have on your or buttons that you have on your controller, and then there's a way to actually switch to a sub-menu that will give you another 4 options. Right here it's saying that for the Xbox it's the left trigger. On the PlayStation, I would assume it's something similar. Right now we're going to do a quick auto attack here and attack this guy and try to take him down. There is a second one that Cassandra is fighting. Don't really worry about that one. As soon as you kill your target, she will kill hers, and then there will be some dialogue that will ensue, and then you'll move on. So don't worry too much about her target. If you're playing as a melee, this will go down a little bit differently. Sometimes this guy attacks you for the whole time. Sometimes he'll run away and go attack Cassandra. We'll see how this plays out. Cassandra just taunted him, and now she kills hers.
It's over.
Drop your weapon. Now!
Okay, so this will be the second time you've been exposed to this concept of approval in the game. If you have played previous Dragon Age games, you will remember that there was this concept of giving gifts to your companions and saying the right things, talking to them about certain things they want to talk about, and it would increase your approval with them or decrease your approval with them depending on how you handled certain things. And there would be this meter that you could track things on, so you knew, how much they approved of you and how much they didn't approve of you. In Dragon Age Inquisition, the concept of approval exists, but there is no meter. There's no gauge for you to check. It's a very seat-of-the-pants type feeling on, whether they like you or whether they don't like you. And based on conversation options and dialogue options that you have with your various companions, Cassandra just happens to be one of them, will determine whether she approves or disapproves of you, and will eventually lead to either her offering you or not offering you some of her personal quests. If you do something that makes your companions really hate you, I don't think that they're going to offer you their personal quests. I haven't really done anything to seriously piss off any of my companions through like 5 playthroughs consistently. Obviously, I've made decisions that have annoyed them where they disapproved, but nothing where they didn't give me any of their side quests, because once again, I haven't gone out of my way to try to piss them off. So right now, I'm going to choose alright, I'll disarm, and you're going to see on the left hand side of the screen an approval notification that tells you Cassandra approves of the way you just handled this situation.
All right. Have it your way.
Wait. I cannot protect you. And I cannot expect you to be defenseless. I should remember you agreed to come willingly. Take these potions. Maker knows what we will face.
Where are all your soldiers?
At the forward camp, or fighting. We are on our own for now.
Okay, so Cassandra, you saw that because it just said that Cassandra approves. Now, your companions are either going to slightly approve of things you do, approve, or greatly approve, and the same with their disapproval. And you saw that she just gave us some potions. So potions in Dragon Age Inquisition work a little bit differently than they did in the other Dragon Age games. So on your PC, if you look down on the right hand side of your screen, I believe there is now a potion down there that says 8 of 8, and it looks like a little bottle, and that's your healing potion. That's what she just gave you. On PlayStation, Xbox, I think there's a button for PlayStation or for Xbox. It's the top left bumper that will bring up this little radial menu, and you can see at the top there are 8 healing potions that she has given you. Now, there's 2 different classes of potions in the game as far as how they get used. The first is a group batch potion, and the second is an individual batch potion. And so what's the difference between the two? A group batch potion means that, like healing potions, if you use one of these healing potions yourself, it's going to decrement the counter down to 7 of 8. If another one of your companions uses a healing potion, it's going to decrement the counter down to 6 of 8. So everyone is drawing from the same pool of healing potions. Each individual companion, and including yourself, you guys do not have your own pool of healing potions. Everything comes from the same pool. Everything comes from the same batch. So if everybody is, using healing potions constantly, this is going to get whittled down fairly quickly. The other type of potion is the individual pool, individual batch potion, where you use your own potions. It's a potion that's just for you. You have, 3, 4, 5 of them, and they're only for you. If you have, there's ones called regeneration potions, which we'll see a little bit later. And if you use a regeneration potion, you're using your own regeneration potions. If another companion has them, they're using their own regeneration potions. There's no crossover. They're not pulling from yours. The amount you have, you're not pulling from the amount they have. So just keep that in mind. There's 8 potions that you use collectively for your team when you start out. There is a way to increase that number, which you'll find out later. But for right now, you're stuck with 8. The way that your potions, once you run out of them, you're probably thinking, okay, that doesn't seem like a lot. What happens when I run out? When you run out, you can refill your potions by finding something they call a supply cache, which I will show you just a little bit later. We're going to run into one. There is also the concept of traveling back to a main city that you're going to locate, and when you do that, when you travel to your main city, it will refill your potions, as well as if you go up to a camp. You're going to establish various camps throughout the world that use as waypoints in the various zones you discover. And when you fast travel to one of those waypoints, one of those camps, it'll automatically rest you, fill you up to full health, and refresh your healing potions. So that's just a quick rundown on how healing potions work. And now we're going to take a look at our first piece of loot. So on the ground here, you're going to see a body. If you loot it, you're going to find a helmet that you can wear. Now this first helmet that you find is always going to be something you can use, and it's always going to be specific to your class. So if you're a mage, you're going to find a cloth helm. This is a leather helm, medium armor for the leather wearers, and if you are a warrior, you're going to find a heavy armor, plate mail, whatever you want to call it, type helm. So right now we have found this scout hat. Now the question is, how do we put this on? If you're on the PC, hit the I key. That's going to bring up your inventory. Otherwise, hit the on the Xbox, it's the start button that brings up your radial menu again. Go to inventory, and when you pick up something new in your inventory, it's going to classify it as either a weapon, an armor, an accessory, or a valuable weapon schematic, armor schematic, a recipe, or crafting materials. Upgrades as well, all kinds of different stuff, but when you pick them up, for you to know what you've just picked up, it's going to put a star next to the classification of the item that you've picked up. So right now you see the star next to armor. We're going to go click into armor, and we're going to see that there is a star next to this scout hat, which we just picked up. So you can kind of have a long list of items here, and you may not know what you've just picked up, what's new, what's old, what you thought was trash and just didn't care about. So put stars next to the items that were kind of new since you've last looked at them. If we mouse over to this, or just kind of move our cursor down here to select it, you highlight it, equip it, you can unequip it, pretty standard stuff. Now, for the helmets, some of them look fairly cool in the game. Some of them look pretty ridiculous. So, luckily for this, you don't need a mod if you don't really want to see your character with his funny little helmet on all the time. There is an actual option in, interface. We're going to go down to interface and choose hide helmet, and hide helmet will hide your helmet for your character. Unfortunately, it hides the helmet for your entire party. There is no individual way right now, they may change it in the future, for you to say, hey, hide my helmet, but don't hide Cassandra's helmet, or whoever else is in your party. It's just not that specific. You're either hiding them or showing them, unfortunately. So that's how you get rid of your helmet if you don't want to see it. If you want to see it, we'll leave it on there. There are some cool ones, but as I said, there are some ones that look pretty darn silly.
There! Watch out! If we flank them, we may gain the advantage.
Okay, so you just heard her say if we flank them, we might gain the advantage. So if you're not familiar with what flanking means, it means approaching an enemy, a group of enemies, however you want to look at it, either from the side or from the rear. And in this game, if you go into your, I'll show you a little bit later where you can see what your flanking damage bonus is. But right now, your base flanking damage bonus is 25%. So that means that if you attack an enemy from the side or from behind, you are going to do an additional 25% damage. So as a ranged attacker, you're a mage, you're a rogue with a bow, it's really important positioning. When you're a melee attacker, it's sometimes difficult to constantly be approaching an enemy from the side or the back because things move around so much. But when you have some distance, it's a little bit easier to move around as you're using your staff or your bow to attack enemies. Once you kill things, it's important that you search around for loot that may or may not have been dropped. And the way you do that in the game on an Xbox controller, you depress the left thumbstick, and it's going to do like a sonar ping that will show you things that are nearby. So we just did the ping, and you can see that there's something on the mini-map down on the left that's flashing. So that tells you that it's found something close by, and if we go over and check it out, find some gold. Now, every time you kill something, you definitely want to be doing this. If you're out in the world hunting and gathering for herbs, metals, whatever, looking for containers like chests, barrels, sacks, anything that you're going to be able to loot, all that stuff will show up by using your search ping. So definitely search ping early, search ping often. I like running around constantly doing it, just looking for stuff. So I want to point that out to you. It's very important that you're using that. And when you're out, after you kill stuff, not only after you kill stuff, but when you're just generally out in the world, you search ping, you're probably going to find gathering materials. The first type might be an herb, like this elf root we're looking at here on the right, or some metal, like this iron that we find on the left. There are also leathers, and there are cloth pieces. There's various things that you find either through killing stuff, or you just find them on the ground like this. Now, the things you find on the ground like this growing in nature are obviously going to be metals and herbs. You're not going to find like a piece of cloth growing out of rock, obviously. So, what is this stuff used for? The herbs are going to be used to make and upgrade potions. So before you heard me talking about this regeneration potion, it's a special type of potion that you get a schematic or a recipe for, and once you have that recipe, you can go ahead and make as many of them as you want as long as you have the materials, and the material you need just happens to be elf fruit. So we're going to save up some elf fruit, and when we finally get to our first city, we'll go ahead and craft a few. I'll show you how that's done. Now, iron is a crafting material that is used for blacksmithing. When you get to blacksmithing, you can start, and you get some schematics for various types of items. You can make new armors, new weapons, modifications for armors like gloves and boots, or modifications for weapons like a new hilt or a new bow grip. All kinds of cool stuff, change of colors. The crafting in the game is very nice, as well as the crafted items that you make. Depending on what materials you use, you can generally make items that are better than what you actually find. And the good thing about the items you craft is there is not a level requirement on those items. Whereas a lot of the loot that you come across in the game, there's gray loot, which is common, there's blue loot which is rare, and then there's purple loot that is unique. They all have level requirements on them. So you might find an item that's like a level 8 item, you might be level 4, you can't use it. But if you went back to the blacksmith, you may have a schematic to make a similar item that's as good or better, but it has no level requirement on it. As long as you have the schematic to make it, and as long as you have the materials to make it, you can make as many as you want in whatever way you want. So crafting definitely adds another flavor to the game, which is really nice. If you head down this hill and hang a left here, and we head towards the back, we're going to find some more loot and an elf fruit that we're going to pick up. We'll grab some more gold, because gold is always good. Grab this elf fruit. And we're going to head on up to our next piece of combat. Now up here we're going to find two enemies. There's one at the bottom, this shade, and then there's one up top, this little green slimer looking guy. He attacks you from range. The shade, obviously you saw in the last couple things of combat that the shade is a melee character. If you're playing on casual or normal, it really doesn't matter how you approach this fight. If you're playing on hard or nightmare, it is a good idea to try to pull the shade separately. If you can wait for the little slimer dude to be all the way in the back, so he's kind of out of range, and then go up and get just close enough to the shade in order to get his attention and bring him to you without getting the green guy, it's generally preferable to do that, because otherwise the green guy is peppering you constantly with a ranged attack. And sometimes when you go up to get him, as soon as you get close, he likes to jump off the cliff down back to the bottom, and then you got to go all the way back down after him while he's shooting you on the way. So it's generally best to just try to body pull this guy if possible.
Up on the hill. It attacks from a distance.
So, and I did not successfully do it that time, but he really only got one shot off, which is definitely preferable to him shooting. See how he jumped down off the hill like that when she went up after him? Yeah, he'll do that to melee characters, which can make him kind of nasty.
Die!
I always like to kill those guys first if it's even remotely possible. You'll get into situations where you have 4 or 5 of them running around, and they just start peppering you with ranged attacks, and it can get nasty pretty quick. So here's some loot that this guy dropped. Now, it's nothing that you can actually equip, but it is what they like to call a creature research item. So creature research items allow you to collect a number of these enemy-specific items. So this dropped from a shade, so it's Shadow Essence. The shade is a demon. It's classified as a demon. So if you were to pick this up, You're going to get this quest called Know Thy Enemy. Now, what it wants you to do is, once you collect these creature research items and you get to your main city, you're actually going to be able to turn these into an NPC, and if you turn enough of them in, you're going to get a bonus to damage against that specific type of creature. So, if we had like 3 or 5, 6, 10, whatever of these shadow essences that we just picked up, it will allow us to do more damage to demons, is what it's going to come down to. So you definitely want to pick those up. You can recognize them by them being in that little yellow icon you saw. And if you want to find them in your inventory, if you go down to valuables, you can see here is your shadow essence, and it tells you that this is a creature research item, and bring it to the creature research specialist to learn more about this type of creature. So just something basic about creature research. Make sure if you see those items, you pick them up, and don't forget to turn them in. They do count against your inventory, so you don't want to be running around with too many of those in your inventory and forgetting to turn them in, because you're going to run short on inventory space as it is, and those definitely take up a spot. So you head back in this little nook here, you're going to find some more gold and another thing of elf root that we will grab. And then we will head up these stairs and continue on our way. Alright, so the next battle is just up here over this hill. Now before we get to it, I would like to mention something here. We are going to save our game. Okay. Now I just saved. What I want to say is, for the love of God, please save early, please save often. Save early, save often, save early, save often, save early, save often. Save early, save often. I say this because there are so many forum threads that I've been on where people run into bugs, they have problems, they make decisions in quests that they don't like, or they find out later that had they chosen to do something else, the result would have been better for them. All sorts of reasons, and when the suggestion is made, well, just load from an earlier save game, the response is, well, I've been playing 15 hours and I have been saving over the same game, or I've been playing 15 hours and I haven't saved my... Just don't do that. This game will allow you to save up to 250 saved games. There's a reason it allows that. Save as many times as you want. Don't save over top of the same saved game all the time. Just continue to save new games as you progress. That way, if you run into a problem and you've played for 10 hours, you don't have to go back 10 hours beforehand to find a saved game. You can just go back 10 minutes beforehand and find a saved game, or 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Anything is better than having to lose hours and hours and hours of game time. So I stopped to make this point once again just because I know people do it. I see posts all the time on the forums about it, and as a new player or somebody going back through their second playthrough, my best advice really is save early, save often. It will save your butt. Alright, so let's get back to it and head up for our next encounter. Two guys are going to drop down on this hill over here. One little green slimer guy and one shade.
They're falling from the breach!
Once again, try to take out that slimer as quickly as possible. If you're a melee character, you really are going to have to just run over there. If you're ranged, you're probably going to be lucky enough to stand up on this hill like I am and take them out without having to get your feet dirty. Head down in here. Use our search ping a little bit. See if they dropped anything for us. Of course they didn't. But what we are going to find up here is some iron. So we'll head up here and grab some additional iron, because we're going to need that later. And if we look down here, we see there's two little slimer guys and one shade. We'll try to pick one of these guys off to begin with. Hopefully get the other one before he puts his shield up. And then we're going to be cowards and stealth and run away. Actually, that wasn't running away. That was a strategic retreat. So I just want to be clear. So we got lucky, and we now picked up a spirit essence. So you're going to pick up these various essences, like spirit essence, frost essence, fire essence. What are they for? You look on the description, it says tier 1 rare rune material. Well, what does that mean? So if you look at your weapons, So, sorry, I'll give you a quick tutorial on weapons here on your inventory. So when you pick up an item, what you can do is you can examine the item by clicking a button to examine it, which on right now happens to be the X button. If you have a second item that you would like to compare against the item that you currently have equipped, if you hit that same button again or click that same button again, it's actually going to give you a comparison between the item you've selected and the item you have equipped. I will show you this a little bit later so you can see how it works, but I just accidentally clicked into it and popped it up, so I didn't want you looking at it going, oh, what's that? So look at this weapon on the right hand side. Let your eyes pan down just a bit towards the center of the screen. You're going to see something that says empty rune. So of the things you can craft in the game, you can craft weapons, armor, weapon upgrades, armor upgrades, and you can also craft these runes. These runes will be inserted into weapons, and in order to craft them, you will often need various rune materials, and what we just picked up was a rune material. So this would allow us to craft the lowest level of spirit rune in the game, and spirit runes do spirit damage. There are fire runes that do fire damage, cold runes, electricity runes, obviously they do cold and electricity damage. All kinds of cool runes that you can craft, not just elemental runes, other ones that increase your damage against beasts and dragons and just all kinds of really fun stuff. So that's what this stuff is. You're not going to be able to craft runes early on. You're going to have to wait till you get a little bit later in the game. There's going to be a big event that happens, and you wind up finding a new city, and when you find a new city, that's when you're really going to get the ability to craft runes. So if you pick something like this up early on, definitely hold on to it, but don't worry if you can't make runes just yet. It's working as intended. That's what the game wanted, and you're not really missing out on anything, or your game's not bugged. So, alright, so we just took out the guys down here. We're going to run back here, check for some more loot, grab us a bit of gold, and head on up the stairs. Now I'm going to be quiet here for just a few minutes because a little bit of a conversation is going to occur.
We're getting close to the rift. You can hear the fighting.
Who's fighting?
You'll see soon. We must help them.
Alright, now we're going to see 3 shades down here that we're going to help fend off.
Make it take you!
Quickly! Before more come through!
Get your hands off me, you damn dirty elf!
What did you do?
I did nothing. The credit is yours.
At least this is good for something.
Whatever magic opened the breach in the sky also placed that mark upon your hand. I theorized the mark might be able to close the rifts that have opened in the breach's wake. And it seems I was correct.
Meaning it could also close the breach itself.
Possibly. It seems you hold the key to our salvation.
Good to know. Here I thought we'd be ass-deep in demons forever. Varric Tethras, rogue, storyteller, and occasionally unwelcome tag-along.
It's good to meet you, Varric.
You may reconsider that stance in time.
Aw, I'm sure we'll become great friends in the valley, Chuckles.
Absolutely not. Your help is appreciated, Varric, but...
Have you been in the valley lately, Seeker? Your soldiers aren't in control anymore. You need me.
Ugh.
My name is Solus, if there are to be introductions. I am pleased to see you still live.
He means I kept that mark from killing you while you slept.
You seem to know a great deal about it all.
Solus is an apostate, well-versed in such matters.
Technically, all mages are now apostates, Cassandra. My travels have allowed me to learn much of the Fade, far beyond the experience of any circle mage. I came to offer whatever help I can give with the breach. If it is not closed, we are all doomed regardless of origin.
If I can close the breach, I will.
Cassandra, you should know. The magic involved here is unlike any I've seen. Your prisoner is no mage. Indeed, I find it difficult to imagine any mage having such power.
Understood. We must get to the forward camp quickly.
Well, Bianca's excited.
This way, down the bank. The road ahead is blocked.
We must move quickly.
All right, so what they want you to go is jump over this little ledge here and follow them. But before you do, head up here and check out this body because you are going to find a weapon upgrade here. We're going to ahead and take that, and I will pop back into the inventory, and we will show, or I will show you what I meant before about how you compare things. So currently, you can see that we have this hunting bow selected and equipped. It's got those orange brackets around it. If we go up to the Ferelden Army longbow, and we hit the X button to examine it, and then we hit the X button again. Now, this is going to be a little different on the PlayStation, different button probably, and on the PC, it's just a button you're clicking down there. Hit it again, and now you can see that it's giving you a comparison of the item you have selected compared to the item that we have already equipped. So you can see there's DPS that they list out, and then underneath that there's damage, and then underneath that you will find a couple other things. The first is the variable stats that are on these weapons. So one gives us an increase to our dexterity attribute, and the other one increases our flanking damage bonus by 11%. Now remember, we talking about that before. Currently it's 25%, so if we have this equipped, it goes up to 36%. And then just beneath that, you're going to see this empty grip on the left and empty rune, and on the right you see empty rune. Now what's an empty grip? A grip is a bow grip, and it is a weapon modification item. Some weapons have them, other weapons do not. All weapons are capable of having them. It just depends on the specific weapon and what it rolled when it dropped for you, what kind of weapon it is, all that good stuff. Some stuff that you craft, be aware that it won't always have a weapon upgrade slot. It will always have a rune slot, though. Same with armors. They may not always have the armor upgrade slot. So just something to be cognizant of as you're going through this. Now, if you're a dual-wield rogue and you want to check out what you have in your main hand versus what you have in your offhand, if you look down at the bottom of the screen there, now I have a bow equipped, so I can't show this to you, but there is an option to compare offhand. So you're right now comparing to your main hand by default, and if you choose that option down there, you will be able to compare to your offhand. So something handy if you're dual wielding, but for me it doesn't really matter, but I wanted to point it out because it's definitely something that people miss and overlook when they're trying to sort out what's better, and they can get kind of frustrated. If you head up here as well, you're going to find just a little bit more loot. And that's just about it for this area. I've never seen it happen, but I always do it. I usually like to pop back in here and just check to see if anything dropped from me killing those demons, just to make more creature research items, more spirit essence, something like that. It's the habit I'm in, but it's not something that I've ever really had pay off for me, but it's something I mentioned in case you want to do it as well. Now, when you get down to the bottom of this hill, hop off this ledge. You can find some more loot down here. And you are going to find gold and this strange little item here that's called Figurine of Mayfair
Demons ahead.
Betrayer.
Glad you brought me now, Seeker?
So what is that item we just picked up? It's known as a valuable, and if we go into our valuables, you're going to see it here. A valuable is literally just something that is you want to sell. I mean, that's it. It just so happens they stick our creature research items in here, which I think, it sucks that they put them in here because it puts you in a position where you could accidentally sell them when you don't mean to. But for right now, this is where all your creature research items are stuck, along with your valuables. And the valuables, once again, are really just for sale. if you go up into your weapons, something that I wanted to note about valuables is when you're traveling through the world, you're going to be picking up a lot of stuff. I mean, different armors, different weapons, and not all of it is going to be something that you need to use, want to use, can use, care about, however you want to classify it. So your list of weapons that you have here is going to get pretty long because you can see at the bottom of the screen, right now you can hold up to 60 items. If you like to keep your inventory list clean, you have the option of taking items that you have here that you don't care about, you don't want to see anymore, you know, you're just going to sell them, and putting them in like a common category of valuables. So if you look at the bottom of the screen there, there is a little button here that is for the left trigger on the Xbox. On the PC it is going to be a button you can click that says move to valuables, and if you select that, it's going to take it out of this list and it's going to move it over here into your valuables list. So it's a good way to clean up your inventory categories for weapons, armor, accessories, for just things that you don't care about and you're going to get rid of anyways. That way when you go to sell, you can just go to one tab, choose your valuables, and just, you know, burn through selling those. Just make sure you don't sell your creature research items. You can buy them back, but if you accidentally sell them and then forget about them, you know, really bad, because these are pretty awesome when they give you enough to increase your damage against certain creatures. So just a little bit on inventory management there. We'll get back to killing and check out a new combat mode, and I will editorialize just a bit for you on that and tell you why I like it and why I don't like it. Okay, so the tactical camera. This is like a stop time mode to give you a top-down overview of the entire battlefield and to be able to issue commands to each one of your different teammates and have them do different things. So if you look on the left there, you're going to see this 6 spiked reticle that is over my portrait. I move it down, it goes to Cassandra, Solus, Varric. Okay, so what I can do is, while I have Cassandra selected, I can move this little targeting reticle out here onto the battlefield and tell her that I want her to go after this guy. I want her to taunt this guy or challenge him. So that's what she's going to do. Now with Varric, I'm going to tell Varric that I want him to use his long shot ability to attack this guy right here. Okay, so however, what I can't do is I can't tell him to attack this guy just beyond this first green Slimer. I call them Slimers, they're really called Wraiths, but the reason is they've got you locked into this specific area of operation here that you just can't break out of within the stop time tactical camera mode. I don't know why they did it, but I don't know, it's really annoying because that guy can attack you, but you cannot direct your guys to attack him from the tactical camera mode. So I think it's kind of gimped in that way, and it's really annoying. If you are playing on, here, we'll have Solus do something as well. Here, we'll have him use one of his abilities, Winter's Grasp. So if you're playing on normal, if you're playing on casual, which we're playing on casual right here, you do not really need to use this mode, except maybe when you're fighting dragons or when you're doing some more advanced combat with rifts. And we'll get into that. Obviously, in the tutorial, we're not going to be going up against any dragons, but those are the only 2 times I really think this is useful at normal or casual difficulties. As you move into hard and nightmare, there are going to be a number of battles where you're constantly needing to use this. That's just been my experience now, because things move so quickly and there's so many things that you need to control on the battlefield to avoid getting just absolutely murked every single time you go into combat. That it does become very useful, and it's a must for dragon fights when you're on those harder difficulties. There's just really no way around it for me personally, once again. So play with it a little bit, get to understand it. use it as you see fit and what works best for you. You definitely don't have to use it all the time, but it's something I wanted to point out to you because honestly, whoever came up with this, this is super cool. Whoever came up with this idea at BioWare, working on the Dragon Age team, you know, my hat's off to them. Kudos. This is brilliant. I mean, I personally haven't seen anything this awesome in a game like this. Just from they've had stop time in the other Dragon Age games, but the ability to stop it, give your commands. You can see down at the bottom it says RT, right trigger, advance time. You know, you can slightly advance time and then pause it just by letting off the trigger. Man, very cool stuff. So whoever did this, really great job. But once again, lower difficulty levels, just not that useful. Not something you need. You can kind of face roll your way through combat. But on the higher difficulty levels, I definitely find it to be very useful. So we'll advance through some of this. And let you see how that all kind of works out. Now you can see the new little green wraith guy came into range. And Varric's ability for long shot's about to come off. I'm going to tell him to attack this guy. And Varric just smoked that guy. So, we're going to hit the select button here. You can see that left arrow down there to exit. Go back into regular combat mode. Sorry, and that wasn't Varric that smoked that guy. That was me. Sorry. I was talking and not paying attention. So, we've killed them off, and you can see there's that little green thing on the ground over there. There's a little green thing here. If we hit our little sonar ping, search ping, you can see we've got some items to loot. So, we got lucky. Got some wisp essence. And we picked up, wow, got Spirit Essence and Shadow Essence. So, getting pretty lucky with the drops here. This will not always happen. But don't worry, in the tutorial, it's pretty light on drops. But once you get out into the world, they're a little more generous with what they give you. Want to do some looting around here. And if you want to check up inside this house, and we're going to find some things to loot. While you're out in the world, always go in everything you see, all the houses. You can go in just about everywhere. And inside, you're going to find gold. You're going to find chests and containers that have armor and weapons and just upgrades and some crafting schematics. Inside these little sacks, you're going to find crafting items. So we found some more metal that was summerstone. Just all kinds of good stuff. So make sure you're exploring and checking out every place you see. If you can get in it, there's probably something in there waiting for you. Now we're going to come up on this burning building, and we're going to talk about some companion commands that you can use. So you can see there's a bunch of fire on the ground. Now I have drugged my whole party in there before and had them come through unscathed, even though they walked right through the fire. Other times they've like randomly gotten burned. So when I get here, I like to pull up my radial menu that had my potions on it. This also exposes some character commands that you can issue, which are attack my target, disengage, clear commands, and hold position. Now, hold position you will find very useful when doing at least one particular puzzle in the game, and also telling your party just to stop following me around. This is one of those times where it's helpful just to tell them to stop following you around, and if you give the hold position command, it will tell them all to stop and hold their position. And if I move around, you can see they're just standing there. They're not going to follow me. Now, keep in mind that hold position is a little buggy right now for whatever reason. And sometimes it doesn't really stick. So they will continue to follow you even after you've told them to hold position. And if you get too far away from your party, they will follow you anyways. So it's like if you tell them to hold position and then you get busy doing something, run away, and you're off like 100 yards away, they're not just going to be standing back here like morons going, oh, I wonder where he went. They're gonna catch up to you because you obviously forgot to tell them to come with you in most cases. So I've told them to hold position. I'm gonna run up inside here and do a little bit of looting. Try to avoid the fire. As I said, the fire is really weird. Sometimes it'll burn you, and other times you're solid, and even though you walk through it, it doesn't touch you. So, all right. So I've done that. I'm going to go and tell them to clear commands, which is I'm going to clear the hold position command, and they're now going to follow me. You can see they're following me now. One thing that you might run into is when you engage in combat, or when you get close to combat, but you don't want to fight something, you're just trying to run by it, that your character will pull out their weapon, and they'll start walking instead of running, and you really want them to run and move faster. If that happens to you, or if you get stuck in like this weird combat state where you constantly have your weapon out and you're walking, if you bring up that little menu again, for PC users, your commands are down on the right-hand side of your screen, just to point that out. But you have this disengage option. If you choose that, it will make your character put away their weapon and go back to running, kind of like we're doing now. It's a weird bug sometimes that shows up in the game that you'll experience where you're out of combat, you're nowhere near combat, but you somehow have your weapon out and you're still running around as if you were still in combat, and you need to disengage so that you're not just like walking at a snail's pace for moving forward. So just a quick tip to point out. It's definitely going to happen to you once or twice, maybe more if you're unlucky, throughout your gameplay, and it's good to know how to disengage and go back to running versus walking everywhere. So we're coming up here because this is where there is an additional piece of loot.
So let me guess. Fellow surface dwarf may be part of the Carta?
What makes you say that?
I can tell a proper Orzammar dwarf from 20 paces. Also, you have that shifty smuggler look to you.
You have keen eyes.
And an enormous mouth.
And clever hands. It's all part of my charm.
So if you come up here, there is another piece of loot up here, not just this iron, but on the ground there you're going to find a necklace. So it's our first necklace that we're going to find in the game, and it's part of the accessories category. So we're going to pick that up, and we're going to go into our inventory. We're going to see the star next to accessories, and we're going to examine that, check it out a bit. Life Ward Amulet, plus 50 Life Ward Heal. Common amulet. When a blow is about to drop a character's health below 0, the amulet shatters and heals the character for its specified amount. So what does that all mean? Pretty much, if you equip this, it's going to put it on. If you get hit and the hit would normally kill you, this is going to kick in. It's going to break the amulet, and it's going to give you 50 health. So pretty straightforward. Nice thing to have. I don't really use them that much. You're going to find much better amulets in the game. But early on, it's a free piece of loot. Why not grab it? It's there. So I'm going to head on up to the forward camp. I'm going to show you one more piece of kind of off-the-path loot that you can pick up. Mostly, I'm not going to point out all the iron and elf fruit that you can find out here and all the various different types of loot that's laying on the ground. I'm going to let you do some exploring on your own, but this one's kind of close to the path.
My magic cannot stop your mark from growing further. For your sake, I suggest we hurry.
We're actually going to find it up here off to the right near this wagon. So head through these trees.
So, are you innocent?
I don't remember what happened.
That'll get you every time. Should have spun a story.
That's what you would have done.
It's more believable and less prone to result in premature execution.
So we found a little bit of gold, another piece of iron. Nothing too great, but gold's always helpful, especially really early on in the game. Gonna head up these stairs, and we're gonna find a little bit, some more combat up here. 2 Slimers and 2 Shades. Once again, I'm really gonna try to take these little Slimers out first. So you can see we're trying to stay behind this guy so that we get really good positioning on and get our flanking damage bonus. Behind him to the side. Once again, on casual and on normal.
I hope Liliana made it through all this.
She's resourceful, Seeker.
We will see for ourselves at the forward camp. We're almost there.
On casual, on normal. That type of little stuff doesn't really matter. You get into hard and nightmare. Every little bit of damage helps. You know, anything you can do to end the combat earlier than normal is going to be helpful. So we're going to
Another
run
rift!
into our first
We must seal
real
it!
rift.
Quickly!
They keep coming! Help us!
Okay, so when you get to a rift, you have the way rift work is you see on the top right there. There's this like health bar which indicates the number of waves left in a rift. This one's already halfway down, which tells you this is like the last wave. But it's not good. There's no numeric value that tells you how many waves you find in a rift. Generally, there are 2. Very rarely is there 1, and also very rarely are there more than 2. I would say it's more like a 95% chance that when you hit a rift, there's always going to be 2 waves. It's, you know, insert number here of how many demons pop out, but it's usually always going to be 2 waves. After the second wave, or after the final wave, you're going to want to walk up to the rift, and when you do so, you can close the rift. Now, if you don't close it right away, you're running around, you know, looting, doing whatever else you want to do. It's no big deal. There's no rush to it. Demons aren't going to continue to spawn if you don't close the rift right away. However, the other option you have, and only you as the prisoner right now, the Inquisitor later, only you have the ability to disrupt rifts. And what does disrupting a rift do? So when you get up to a rift, you're going to see the option to disrupt it, and when you do that, it's actually going to deal damage to, and it's also going to stun these demons that are already spawned out here. So what we're going to try to do is tell Varric to like move down here, tell Solus to move down here, and tell Cassandra to move down here so they stop attacking. And what I'm trying to do is get it so that we can disrupt the rift before that demon dies. So you can see that he takes some damage and gets stunned. So there is, he's 276 or 425. Got myself selected. I'm going to tell myself to go interact with and disrupt the rift, and we're going to see if this guy lives long enough to... So disrupting the rift, you can see, is not an immediate thing. Okay, so you saw that he was stunned there, and he took some damage, right? So disrupting the rift is usually very helpful in killing off demons, just for the fact that it stops them from attacking you. It does do some damage to you. It does to them, sorry, not to you. It just generally is a helpful thing to do. So if you can disrupt the rift, you know, go for it. The only character class that has trouble with it, in my opinion, is the sword and board warrior, because you're honestly trying to taunt, challenge everything you can to get everything attacking you and not attacking some of your more squishy characters like your rogues and your mages. And in the process of doing that, they're all attacking you and hitting you. And if something hits you while you're trying to disrupt this rift, it interrupts it, because disrupting the rift is not an immediate thing. You don't just click it and it's disrupted. You kind of have to channel it for a while, and then it disrupts the rift. While you're channeling, if you get hit, you know, you're kind of screwed, because it resets it and you have to start all over. As a sword and board warrior, it makes it really difficult to do that. So, and unfortunately, only you, the character you've created, none of your companions can disrupt the rift. So just remember that when you're playing through. That's how that works, and it's definitely a useful thing to do. There is one other cool thing you can do with rifts that I'll show you a little bit later. But so now we have disrupted the rift. This shade is stunned. We are going to just attack him with a little auto attack. We use our long shot and finish him off. Okay, so you can see now he's dead.
Hurry!
And
Use the mark!
instead of being able to disrupt the rift, now we have the option to close the rift. So we will close the rift. And then we'll talk about leveling up. Okay, so once you close that rift, you will be able to level up your character. So when you go to your radial menu here, or your character record, I don't know what the character record key is on the PC. I'm going to guess it's C. Something along those lines. You probably have an icon on the bottom right that represents your character record because you like to go there a lot. Before we talk about leveling up, I'm going to switch over to attributes and show you attributes. So this is where it lists out all of your attributes, your strength, your dexterity, magic, cunning, willpower, constitution, and it also gives you some stats. Your offensive stats, your defensive stats, and some other stats, right? So, and the one stat it also gives you here under offensive stats that I was talking about is flanking damage bonus. So this is what we talked about before. Your default flanking damage bonus is 25%. This is where you find those numbers like that. So when you get various attributes on your weapons and you want to see how they affect your damage and, you know, some of these various stats, come down here and check them out. Under defense, one good thing to mention is here that you have various items that you will pick up that will have like spirit resist on them, fire resist, electrical resist, cold, range defense, melee defense, magic defense. Range defense is pretty obvious, you know, it's ranged. Melee combat, you know, guys trying to hit you with swords and shields, fists, axes, daggers, whatever you want to call it, anything that's melee. Between the various elemental types, cold, electrical, fire, spirit, those are individual resistance types which will provide you resistance against that type, obviously, right? So if you get a 10% cold resist and you put that on, you're going to be resisting 10% of cold damage that is done to you. However, if you get magic defense of 10%, it's giving you 10% cold, electrical, fire, and spirit. So at all times, if you find yourself in a situation where you're trying to compare gear and you have one that gives you magic defense of like 5%, one that gives you, you know, electrical resistance of 5%, it's a no-brainer. Take the magic defense. If it's, 5 magic, 10 electrical, in my opinion, it's still a no-brainer. I'd rather have 5% magic defense to everything than 10% to 1. The only situation that changes in is when you're fighting dragons and certain characters at rifts, or certain demons at rifts where they do a specific type of damage. You may want to, if you're fighting a dragon that's a fire dragon or an electrical dragon, you may really want to buff up on, every bit of fire or electrical resistance gear you can find. That's more so true on the higher level difficulties. On the lower level difficulties, the dragons can still be difficult, but the resistances aren't absolutely mandatory. You get up to some of the higher levels of difficulties, it's just, I personally feel like it's mandatory that you have some the right amount of and type of resistance to take on the dragons without getting yourself killed. So that's just a quick note on magic defense and the various elemental types here. Sometimes that can get a little confusing, and there's not a bunch of explanation in the game. If you dig deep and you can see it says all magic or elemental attacks, but it still leaves you guessing a little bit. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear, that this is definitely as good as you can get when it comes to resisting these types of damage here. Okay, so let's talk about attributes and leveling up. So when we leveled up, you can see, we got an ability point to spend. What we did not get was any attribute points to spend. So if you've played previous Dragon Age games, you probably remember that there were attribute points and there were ability points. Sorry, I had to take a drink. Attribute points, you could distribute any way you wanted. Ability points, you could put in any tree you wanted. The way they have it set up in Dragon Age Inquisition is you only ever get ability points, but by spending ability points, you can choose certain things in your various ability trees which will add attribute points in various stats. So like dexterity for me, cunning, constitution. I have the ability to increase these attributes by the decisions I make on the abilities I choose to take. You also can pick up gear and craft gear that has various increases to your stats or to your attributes here. So it's not something you can't change. It's just they're not giving you individual points every time you level up to distribute like they did before. Just something to point out because you might have excuse me. You might have wound up leveling up and then going, well, why didn't I get an attribute point? And then you get to level 2, level 3, level 4, and you still haven't got these attribute points, and you're wondering, well, what the heck is going on? Why don't they give them to me? Well, it just doesn't quite work that way in Dragon Age Inquisition. So if we go over and look at our actual ability trees for, we'll go into the archery one since I am playing an archer, and we have 1 ability point to spend, and I'm going to stick it down here in this this little ability modification. Click apply. So let's talk about some of the abilities, not in particular what the abilities are, but the types. What you see in the circles are going to be attribute modifier abilities, and if you look on the right here, you can see that at the bottom of all the text here it says cunning on unlock +3. So that would mean if I took this ability, it would add 3 points to my cunning. So my cunning would go from 10 to 13. So that's kind of how you're increasing your attributes, is based on the decisions you make in your ability tree. And the ones that add ability points, or sorry, attribute points, are always the circles. So if you see a circle, you know if you're trying to get to a specific, increase your attributes, the circles are the way to go. They will definitely increase your attributes. The squares are actually abilities that you can use and that you can map to your number keys if you're on the PC, or to your little ability radial menu here on the right for you to choose from. So you can see I'm hitting the left trigger and you're seeing that change to the 4 that are underneath, and so it's like a primary menu and a secondary menu. It just gives you the ability to map up to 8 abilities there. And these things in the squares are the abilities. Now, the smaller items next to the abilities are ability modifiers. So they also cost 1 little point to spend, but they change the way the ability works. So like for this long shot, when I chose this actually allows it to do increased damage for every enemy that this long shot hits. And how does it hit more than one enemy? If you line them up right, or kind of right, the arrow will actually go through them and hit multiple enemies. So that's what this did. If we go over here and look at what leaping shot is, it's 50% weapon damage. Doing the little ability modifier adds 200% damage to it. So definitely check out your ability modifiers when you're making your choices there. So now on the PC, in order to get them into the various slots that you want them in for your number keys, you just drag and drop. It's very easy. On the consoles, it's a little different. There's this concept of mapping to your battle menu. That's what this thing over on the right is. They call it your battle menu. If you select an item and choose map to battle menu, it's then going to kind of highlight this on the right hand side, and you're going to get to press a key, and if you press that key, that's the corresponding key that it's going to map it to over here. So I'm going to hit the B key, you see that, and then it's going to map that item over to the B key. Now it didn't take it off the X. I don't know why. I don't know why you would want to have the same ability mapped to 2 separate keys, since you have a limited number of them as it is. But that's the way it works. And unfortunately, at least the way I have seen it, there's no way to take it off a mapping on the consoles unless you map a new item to the B key. So if I were to choose map to ability menu again on this and choose B, it does nothing. It doesn't take it away. So if I wanted to put something new on there, it would replace it, but getting it off there, I just haven't found a way to do that. So if you're kind of wondering how the heck does that work, it just doesn't. So once you have your abilities selected, what you can do with them is, a lot of the times you're not going to be directly controlling your character or your entire party. You're just going to be like running with your own character because that's the one you built and that's the one you want to play. You just want to let everybody else do their own thing. That's fine because the AI controls them. But the way the AI controls them and what abilities they use is determined by this tactics screen. So the tactics screen shows you all of the abilities, all the squares that you chose in your ability tree, and what priority they have for the AI to use them. So there's 3 different types of priorities. There's one that's disabled, which means it'll never use it. There's one that is preferred, which means it's going to try to use it as often as it can. And then there's this check mark, which is enabled, which just means that it is something that it will use when it can. So what you want to do is check these out and set these up the way you think it's most beneficial. So there's preferred, enabled, disabled. If there's a skill that you just never want a character to use, they use it and you hate it or whatever, you think it's a waste, set it to disabled. But if there's something that is really awesome and you want them to use it more often, change it to preferred. It'll put a little star next to it, and that means that the AI, when you're not controlling that character, will try to use that ability more often. Now you can see I just did that on myself, but you can switch down to other characters and tell them to use their abilities like that. And you can change all their tactics and attribute settings or all their tactic settings for the various abilities in that way. So that's tactics. Attributes we talked about. Feel free to page through all that information and suss out how you best want to structure your character once you get some more gear and you would put this weapon on. How does it change my attack percentage or my damage or my critical, all that stuff. Play around with that as much as you want if you're a numbers person. The last thing to talk about is behaviors. So if you remember in previous Dragon Age games, there was this concept of AI scripts. AI scripts that allowed you to say, if the 4 guys are nearby, throw a grenade, or if 4 guys are nearby, use the taunt ability, or whatever. It got really detailed. Or if you're below 35% health, or the enemy is ranged and below 35% health, then shoot them with this kind of arrow, or whatever. It got real detailed. They got rid of all of that. You have 4 things that you can set up on AI tactics now, and you can either turn it on or turn it off. First is mana, stamina, percentage reserve. What does that mean? This is the amount of mana or stamina that the AI will make sure that the characters it's controlling have in reserve. So if they're constantly using their abilities, like you've said, hey, these are my preferred abilities, these are the enabled abilities. If in using them they bring their stamina or their mana pool down to 50%, they will stop using abilities until that mana pool or stamina pool gets above 50% again, and then they'll use another ability, it'll bring it back down, etc., etc. That's how that will work. I like to honestly set this down to 20%. It's a personal preference, but that's what I like to do because, honestly, there's nothing in this game that I've really found that is just so critical that, like, if I don't have the mana to do it, it's a game changer. I just haven't found anything like that. So I like to set at 20%. If I am playing on Nightmare, I do bump it up to 30%, and that's just because there's a certain thing you can do with rifts that I'll show you a little bit later that I'd like to make sure I always have mana to do. So then there's targeting behavior. My personal preference, you don't have to do this, it's just a personal preference, is every single one of your companions is set to follow the controlled character. So whatever the controlled character is targeting, that's what everybody else is going to try to target. I like to tell everyone to follow the target of whoever the tank is. So I like to change from controlled character to whoever my tank is. In this group setup, it just happens to be Cassandra, and by tank I mean the warrior that's using sword and shield, or the two-handed warrior that you have operating as your tank. And tank really means whoever's trying to get the attention of all of the enemies and keep them from attacking your squishier characters. So right now, Cassandra is filling that role. So I really like to go through and tell everyone to follow Cassandra. And I often will just go through and tell Cassandra to follow herself as well, which means she's just going to kind of do her own thing and not follow me. So that's how I like to set it up. You feel free to set it up however you want. That's just my suggestion. Healing Potion Reserve. So let's actually move down to Healing Potion HP percentage threshold first. Talk about that, and then we'll go up to the next one because it's a good segue. What does this one mean? That's a lot of words for what this does. This is very similar to the Stamina percentage reserve. It just means how long do I wait before I drink a healing potion. This is nice. However, I have not found this to be consistently working in the game. I've had guys set to 30%, 50%, down to 20, whatever, and they're like, they have a sliver of life left, and they're just standing there. We're out of combat, and they're not drinking potions. Or we're standing there, we're in combat, and they're not drinking potions, and there are totally potions left to be for them to drink. So set this to however you want. I think 30% is fine to leave it, but just know that even though you set it, you may have to switch over to a character and force them to drink a potion. They may not do it on their own. And then kind of look at healing potion reserve. This tells the AI, drink as many healing potions as you want, but if I only have 2 left, don't touch those things. Those are for me and me alone. Don't you drink any of them. I'll decide who gets to drink those last 2 potions. So you can set this to 2. You can set it at any number you want. Since you currently have 8, I think 2 is fine. I like to move it up to 3 just because. As you get more potions, as your pool gets bigger, there is something you can do to make your pool bigger. I don't want to get to too many spoilers or anything right now, but you can get your pool bigger. You may want to you can drop this, move this up to something else, just to increase the number you have in reserve, or you may want to move it down because you figure, God, I've got so many healing potions right now that if we really get down to 2, it's the game's probably over as it is. They're probably all going to die, so what's 2 really going to matter? So handle that however you want, but I wanted to point these out because I think it's important that you know about them, and especially if you're playing on some of the higher level difficulties. I know I keep saying that, but some of this more advanced stuff really is important at that point. So we will get back to adventuring. We've already leveled ourselves up. What we are going to do is actually check out our other characters, so you can see that you can control the ability trees for your companions as well. So when they level up, they're going to get points to spend, and you can spend them yourself, or you can tell them to automatically spend it however the game wants. And when they level up, I will show that to you as well. So I'm going to follow our same
Rift
advice.
is gone. Open the gate.
Right away, Lady Cassandra.
We are clear for the moment. Well done.
Whatever that thing on your hand is, it's useful.
Alright, so we saved, and now we are near something that I was talking about before, which is a supply cache. So, if your potions were down to like 6 of 8, 0 of 8, whatever, and you go and interact with one of these supply caches that you find in the game, it will replenish your supplies. And by replenish your supplies, it will give you all of your potions back, all your healing potions back that you have used. So when you go on your way up here, make sure you loot this chest. It's going to have something in it for one of your other characters. As a rogue and a mage, I believe there's a Morning Star in here. As a warrior, I believe there's a staff in here. So, and I think they do this to let you know that even though you pick up a weapon and you can't use it, you can equip. You can put equipment on other characters. So if we go down Cassandra, and we see that she's using this 48 DPS longsword, and then there is this 64 DPS Morning Star. And if we compare them, we can see that the Morning Star does a little bit more damage. So, we're just going to equip that because we think the Morning Star is cooler. How about that? That's a good reason, right? So we'll put that on her. Generally, when you're evaluating an item, outside of what these additional statistics are that you see in green, I really like to use the damage number as just my base level of comparison. If it does more damage, then it's probably better, and then after that, you can evaluate what the extra stats are to see if it really is better for you. And you can always equip it and go check out your stats under attributes, and then equip another one and check out your stats under attributes and see how your damage changes. See which one really is better for you if you get down to really wanted to figure it out and micromanage it at that level. If not, use DPS as a stat as a comparison, use damage as a comparison, forget about the rest of the stuff, just play, have fun, however you want to do it. Some people are min-maxers and they really like to get into that. Other people really just don't care, so figured I'd point that out to you. We're going to equip that, and we're going to head up, engage in a little conversation.
Here they come.
You made it. Chancellor Roderick, this is...
I know who he is. As Grand Chancellor of the Chantry, I hereby order you to take this criminal to Valroyo to face execution.
Order me? You are a glorified clerk, a bureaucrat.
And you are a thug, but a thug who supposedly serves the Chantry.
We serve the most holy, Chancellor. As you well know.
Justinia is dead! We
Captain
must elect a
Obvious.
replacement and obey her orders on the matter.
Isn't closing the breach the more pressing issue?
You brought this on us in the first place! Call a retreat, Seeker. Our position here is hopeless.
We can stop this before it's too late.
How? You won't survive long enough to reach the temple, even with all your soldiers.
We must get to the temple. It's the quickest route.
But not the safest. Our forces can charge as a distraction while we go through the mountains.
We lost contact with an entire squad on that path. It's too risky.
Listen to me. Abandon this now, before more lives are lost.
How do you think we should proceed?
Okay, so this is a new type of conversation that we haven't had before, a new type of dialogue. It's a type of dialogue in which you're actually going to have the ability to determine the outcome of events or how you and your party proceed going forward. So you have this option to take the mountain path, and when you're in this type of dialogue, you see the little wheel in the center has a different graphic on it, and then you also get this pop-up above that kind of gives you some additional information about the choice you're making. So right now we're just going to choose to take the mountain path, but I wanted to point this out to you as, you know, there are different types of dialogue you need to watch out for, so you know what decisions you're making that may have an impact on the game and which ones are really just conversational.
Use the mountain path. Work together. You all know what's at stake.
Liliana, bring everyone left in the valley. Everyone.
On your head be the consequences, Seeker.
And you can see by choosing to take the mountain path, it really pissed off Cassandra. She did not like that. Normally I choose to take charge with the soldiers, but I just accidentally chose that. So you're going to see something new with me if you haven't seen it before, because I've honestly never chosen to take the mountain path. Wasn't the best decision to do on a video where I'm trying to give you some instruction, but we'll see how different this is than what I'm used to seeing.
The tunnel should be just ahead. The path to the temple lies just beyond it.
What manner of tunnel is this? A mine?
Part of an old mining complex. These mountains are full of such paths.
And your missing soldiers are in there somewhere?
Along with whatever has detained them.
We shall see soon enough.
One down! Eat dirt!
And you can see this, there's a thing showing up on the mini-map when we do our ping. Get closer here. Careful not getting fooled by that stuff. That's really just ladders showing up. The ladders and doors will show up like that, so just be aware that it's not loot always that it shows up on the screen when you see that stuff. Search through here, make sure there's nothing down here. Yeah, I'm real sorry, guys. This I totally chose the wrong thing. It's late here. I was not expecting to make that choice, so we all get to see something new here. At least I do. Alright, there is something in here. A little bit of loot. Chest. Okay, so if you choose the choose to charge with the soldiers, you do run into a chest that has this griffin shield in it, some gold, and a dagger. And obviously, if you come up here, they seem to give you the exact same stuff, so that's definitely good to know. The griffin shield is definitely better than what Cassandra is currently using. So if we do a comparison on that, we see it's got a little more armor on it. It's got a willpower versus magic defense. We'll just throw that one on because it kind of looks cool. Check that out. That looks cool, right? So the stiletto, if you are a dual-wield dagger rogue, this will be an upgrade for you. If you're not, it'll just be just random stuff that you're going to throw on valuables and sell later. Alright, so we will continue heading on in here, see what kind of trouble we can stir up. Looks like there's something over here to loot. Now that is something you don't get if you decide to charge with the soldiers. You do not find crafting materials. So that's a little bit different if you come up here.
Make it take you.
Get ourselves some more loot here. Yeah, there's definitely more loot up here. Here are all of our dead soldiers.
Guess we found the soldiers.
That cannot be all of them.
So the others could be holed up ahead.
Our priority must be the breach. Unless we seal it soon, no one is safe.
That's a task for the other dwarf in our party.
So just to point out, yeah, that's really kind of random, right? So here are your soldiers, but the demons manage to disarm them, take their weapons, and strip them of all their armor, and then leave them dead. Because, you know, demons have a lot of use for weapons and armor. It's kind of random. So we're headed on down in this direction. Yeah, this was a much cooler choice than charging with the soldiers. Okay, so we're going to run into a rift here, and we're going to talk about some more advanced rift tactics other than just... Okay, so you can see
Lady
there's
Cassandra!
now a new...
Lieutenant!
So there's now another wave coming, and that's what these little green things on the ground indicate. You don't have the ability now, but you do have the ability to pick it up later.
Yep.
And what I'm talking about is, if you go into character record and go to your mage, that may be you, it may be Solus, and go into the ability trees. If you check out this ability right here called Dispel, it says you remove hostile magic and status effects from allies when stripping beneficial effects from enemies. That's all fine and well, but an additional benefit of this skill, or this ability rather, is that you can use it. It's like a large targeting reticle that you get to move around on the ground and place wherever you want. And what you can do is you can place it down over top of these red circles here, these little green areas that are shown as like spawn points on the ground. And if you do it before the demons pop out of these spawn points, it'll actually kill them before they spawn. So it's kind of an advanced tactic for dealing with rifts, where you can kill off the demons before they ever show up. It is very helpful on some of your higher difficulty levels. Lower levels, meh. I don't know that you need to worry about it, but it's definitely something I wanted to mention. Some of your warriors have the ability to specialize. I know Cassandra. So there are specializations in the game, just kind of like how they were in the other Dragon Age games. So everybody has different types of specializations. However, your companions are locked into an individual specialization. You don't get to choose for them. Cassandra happens to be a Templar, so that's the specialization that unlocks for her. And I don't know that it's going to show it to us right now. Yeah. Templars do have something called Cleanse, I think. And I believe Cleanse works similar to Dispel. You'll have to check me on that, but it's something definitely to look into. I never worry about it too much because I usually don't run with Cassandra. But it's something to look into. Dispel, very helpful. Killing demons before they show up is always a good thing. Again, especially on your higher difficulty settings. But obviously we can't do it now because we don't have that. But I wanted to point it out to you because it is useful to know.
Just barely.
Okay, so something to point out also in combat is if you look on the left-hand side of the screen, you see a couple things. You see green bars, you see blue bars, you see this gray stuff over top of a green bar. Around the character's portrait, you see yellow, you see blue. What is all of that? The yellow around the character's portrait is their stamina. So it's the amount of stamina they have left. It's also represented around this battle menu on the right-hand side of the screen. I don't know how they portray that, if they portray it in a second place like this on the right-hand side on the PC. But on the consoles, it kind of is circular around your battle menu. And for mages, it's the same thing, but instead of being the yellow stamina, it's blue mana. So it kind of gets you a visual indicator of how much mana or stamina the character has left. If you move to the right of the actual portrait, you see, we'll start with mine that I have selected here. You see the green bar. The green bar is your health. The blue bar is actually a shield that your mages can put on your party in a specified area. They cast it and it pops up. It absorbs all incoming damage. Elemental damage, physical damage. It is just a damage buffer. If we go down to Cassandra's portrait, you see that she missed the shield. She's back over here, or she was back over here at some point, but she was out of range for Solus to put the shield on her, so only 3 of us got the shield. But what she has over top of her health is what warriors, is something that warriors have called Guard, and by using various abilities they can generate Guard, and Guard serves like a shield as a buffer to damage. What it does not buffer is elemental damage. So if something is just smacking her and doing melee damage, it's going to protect her against it. If something is smacking her and doing melee damage plus fire damage, it's not going to protect her from the fire damage. Whereas the shield, the blue bar, that will protect you from all types of damage. She can have guard and a shield all at the same time. Once again, she really just doesn't have that showing up right now because she was out of range when Solus cast the shield on the party. So just to point out what some of that stuff is, because you're going to see it and you're going to have questions about it, and I wanted to address it during this phase of combat. So we'll get back into this. All right.
Sealed, as before. You are becoming quite proficient at this.
Let's hope it works on the big one.
Thank the Maker you finally arrived, Lady Cassandra. I don't think we could have held out much longer.
Thank our prisoner, Lieutenant. He insisted we come this way.
The prisoner? Then you...
Closing rifts and saving soldiers. It's what I do.
Then you have my sincere gratitude.
The way into the valley behind us is clear for the moment. Go, while you still can.
At once. Quickly, let's move!
The path ahead appears to be clear of demons as well.
Let's hurry before that changes.
Okay.
Down the ladder. That's the way to the temple.
So we find some more loot on the ground, and this is the first time you're going to run into loot that you cannot use. So you saw that blue item pop up. We talked earlier about gray items, blue items, purple items, and there's also yellow items. So a gray item is just a common item. Blue items are rare items. Purple items are unique items. And the ones that are yellow, they're not legendary. They're actually crafted items. So when you craft an item, it's always going to have the little yellow icon to it. You can see there's some red text on this, which means you can't use it. When you can't use it, it means you're either not of level to use it, or you don't meet its requirements in some other way, which could be like, this is something that can only be worn by an elf-trained mage. You know, somebody hates dwarves, so they didn't make it for dwarves. However, with this one, it literally is just that it is for a level 6 character. It can only be used by elves, dwarves, or humans. We definitely meet that restriction, but it has a requirement of level 6, and we're just not level 6 yet. What's really nice about this is it's got 14% fire resist on it, so definitely something I suggest you hang on to, because it'll come in handy when you're fighting some dragons, and also rage demons from rifts. So you find a rift if it's really difficult and there's rage demons popping out all over the place. They're the fire demons. It's definitely nice to have some fire resist gear for them. We did pick up another weapon, but it's nothing better than what we already have. Show you that. We're going to stick that in our valuables. And we will move on. Check around just for some more loot up here. Make sure we didn't miss anything. And we're going to continue heading towards the Hairy Eyeball. You saw that before when we started. Quest map, here it is, down here. Head on down. There's probably a ladder here. Yes. Alright, one thing I didn't... that's awesome. So, one thing I did not mention in combat previously that we just saw happen, but I let it go because I was distracted with talking about some other things, was when I was fighting that second wave, if you want to rewind the video a little bit, before that last demon died, you saw that Solus froze him, and then I used my special ability long shot on him, I believe. And once he was frozen, it gave the text above his head that said shattered. You have the ability to like freeze targets, and then certain special abilities will do additional damage if you use them on like frozen or stunned targets, and will give you that like shattered or other type of modifier text that shows up over their head, which means you're not only doing damage to them, but you're also doing additional damage because you're attacking them while they're in some sort of altered state. You know, not drugs, obviously, but you know, they're stunned, have fallen down, and they couldn't get up, or they're frozen. So they don't have their medical alert, button to push. Help me! I've fallen. I can't get up. So you do a little extra damage while they're in some other state. So I just want to point that out. If you want to rewind the video and check that out, you'll see how that text pops up. There's a reason, and it's because you're using certain abilities on them when that happens, and those abilities will modify their damage if they're in some sort of incapacitated state. So we will get back to it. I just wanted to mention that before I forgot, because I remembered I saw it.
Holes in the Fade don't just accidentally happen, right?
If enough magic is brought to bear, it is possible.
But there are easier ways to make things explode.
That is true.
We will consider how this happened once the immediate danger is past.
Anyways, yeah, I just wanted to mention that because I had forgot to bring it up during combat, and I didn't want to leave it out because it is important that you know that there are some additional
things. The Temple of Sacred Ashes.
What's left of it?
To combat.
That is where you walked out of the Fade, and our soldiers found you. They say a woman was in the rift behind you. No one knows who she was.
Okay, so if you chose to take the other path and charge with the soldiers, you're going to wind up at this exact same place. Right here, you'll eventually drop down off this little ledge and wind up down here. And as you're moving forward here, you're going to find another helm on this body, and this will be a helm for your tank, I believe. Grab that, and we will throw that on Cassandra. Give her a new helmet, and remember, we turned helmets off. That's why you don't see it. And we will head down in here.
The breach is a long way up.
You're here. Thank the Maker.
Leliana, have your men take up positions around the temple. This is your chance to end this. Are you ready?
She does know how short I am, right?
I'm not sure how to even start getting up to that thing.
No. This rift was the first, and it is the key. Seal it, and perhaps we seal the breach.
Then let's find a way down. And be careful.
Now is the hour of our victory. Bring forth the sacrifice.
What are we hearing?
At a guess, the person who created the breach.
You know this stuff is Red Lyrium, Seeker.
I see it, Varric.
But what's it doing here?
Magic could have drawn on lyrium beneath the temple, corrupted it.
It's evil. Whatever you do, don't touch it.
Keep the sacrifice still.
Someone help me! That is Divine Justinia's voice. Someone help me!
What's going on here?
That was your voice. Most Holy called out to you, but...
What's going on here?
Run while you can! Hold them!
We have an intruder. Slay the dwarf.
You were there! Who attacked? And the Divine, is she... Was this vision true? What are we seeing?
I don't remember.
Echoes of what happened here. The Fade bleeds into this place. This rift is not sealed, but it is closed, albeit temporarily. I believe that with the mark, the rift can be opened, and then sealed properly and safely. However, opening the rift will likely attract attention from the other side.
That means demons! Stand ready!
Don't cross the streams. Don't cross the streams. That's what happens when you cross the streams.
Now!
Okay, so we're at the end of the little tutorial phase for the beginning of Dragon Age Inquisition, and we have a boss, a Pride Demon to fight. So, a couple notes about this fight, or generally larger fights in general. Your ranged characters really, 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 really love to just stand in melee range and get the heck kicked out of them and die. That's something they enjoy. It's kind of like their mission in life. It's what they find fulfillment in, is just literally standing as close to something that is nasty and taking as much damage as possible and just dying. So, in order to prevent that from happening, a really good idea is to come into this mode when you're in a kind of a boss fight, a mini boss fight, fighting a dragon, whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to call it, and grab your ranged characters, take them, move them so that they're spread out and they're at some sort of distance from the bad guy. And when they get there, tell them to hold position. So we'll advance just a bit, let them get where they're going, and of course you can see there's Varric. He's running right back in. So we're going to issue a hold position here, so everybody holds their position, but we're going to tell Cassandra to, do her thing and attack this demon. So we'll stop her from holding position, because there is no way to say hold position just one person. It's like hold position everybody. Another fail on the hold position command, and we're going to go back to Varric again and try to move him out. Once again, this is kind of flighty, it's kind of buggy, it's a little gimped. It doesn't work as well as I think it should, but so now that he's back into his position, we're going to do a hold position again, and we're going to tell Varric we're just going to leave him alone, and he will naturally attack whatever target he has in front of him. So you don't have to worry about going back and telling him, oh, now that I've told you to hold position, go ahead and attack. We're just doing that for Cassandra in case she was too far away to get into melee range, so she didn't stop attacking this guy. Alright, so she's attacking. So we've got them set up. Now this demon is going to move around a bit. You may have to change positions of your characters again, but this fight can be nasty on some of the higher level difficulty modes, and this is like stage 1 of what I do to try to make it not be so terribly bad. Is to get everybody spread out, holding position, so they're not constantly walking into melee range and just getting really messed up by this demon. Second thing is you're going to see this demon. He's now, done an ability that he has that puts guard all over his health. Normally, when you run into a pride demon in the world, you'll just be able to attack him and whittle down the guard. However, in this little tutorial battle, the only way to get rid of that is to go up and get yourself in a position where you can disrupt the rift. So that's what we're going to do. You can see how I'm walking real slow with my weapon out now. If I were to choose disengage, it would put it away, but I don't want to do that because it's going to tell everybody to stop fighting.
We must strip its defenses.
And disengage.
Wear it down.
So if we get close to the rift and we start disrupting it, if you watch his guard bar, it's going to disappear. Boom. See, it's gone.
The
so
demon
that's how
is vulnerable. Now.
Shut up, Cassandra. That's how you get rid of it in this little tutorial fight. That does not work with the pride demons when they show up out in the world. It doesn't completely remove their guard. And you're gonna get some demons that spawn and come at you throughout this. You're gonna have to disrupt 3 times. That was the first time.
More coming through the rift.
There are the demons. Generally, you're probably going to have to kill them before you disrupt again. Luckily, I have stealth, so I can kind of remove myself from combat and then do that. The other thing you need to watch out for with that demon is you saw that electrical ball that he shot at Varric twice. If he aims it at you or one of your other people, especially on the higher difficulty levels, you can absolutely avoid it if you catch it when he's summoning it, because it's a directed attack and he points it pretty much right directly at the person he's going to shoot it at. So it's not really something that is impossible to avoid. It's something you can totally get out of the way of. The lashes can be a little bit more difficult to avoid. They seem to have a strange range on them. So this is why that tactical camera works really well, because you can catch him as he just starts to summon that. Versus it. Okay. So we've disrupted. Doing our last time here. can see the Rift's health is dependent on his health, or probably Demon's health. So we're just taking him down. At the same time, it takes down the Rift's health, and that's all you're really trying to do. You can see Leliana there. She's just like randomly like shooting at the wall, but she shoots right angle arrows, so she can shoot and not even look at him. She's so cool. That's like the walk-off shot. Oh, that's pretty sweet. Oh, that doesn't affect anything. Keep on rocking here.
Now,
all right, so
seal the rift.
the rift is ready to be sealed. What do you want to do here before you seal the rift? Walk around, use your search ping, and see if you see more than one little thing on the ground. The thing that's actually pinging is the rift. Sometimes when that demon is defeated, quote unquote, he's not dead, he's just defeated, he will drop a piece of loot on the ground that will be like pure or intense lightning essence, which is like kind of like that spirit essence that we saw before. It's a rune crafting material. I've never had it happen on the lower difficulty settings, but on like Nightmare, definitely on Nightmare, I have had him drop something here. So before you close the rift, make sure you check the ground with your search ping, and make sure if there's more than one dot showing up on your mini-map that you go grab that, because that's probably some either pure or intense lightning essence. But it's not here for this, so we're just going to close the rift.
Do it!
Oh. I didn't know you were awake, I swear.
Don't worry about it,
I beg your forgiveness and your blessing. I am but a humble servant. You're back in Haven, my lord. They say you saved us. The breach stopped growing, just like the mark on your hand. It's all anyone has talked about for the last 3 days.
So you're saying they're happy with me?
I'm only saying what I heard. I didn't mean anything by it. I'm certain Lady Cassandra would want to know you've wakened. She said, at once.
And where is she?
In the Chantry, with the Lord Chancellor. At once, she said.
All right, so we've gotten out. We're in our nice little house here. Hell, that bed's nicer than mine. So there was some loot on the ground here we picked up, had some herbs in it. And also here on the left, you're going to find a chest labeled Special Shipments. If you got the Digital Deluxe Edition, I believe, you got the Flames, I think they call it like the Flames of the Inquisition armor, Flames of the Inquisition weapons, something along those lines. This is where those show up. Some of the other items that you may have gotten through like doing pre-release stuff in the keep, you're going to get them. They just show up a bit later. And these items that if you did get the Digital Deluxe Edition, if you go out and check out these items like the Bow of the Dragon, you're going to be given the items that are specific to your class. But just know that when you outgrow these items, if you really like them, you will later on in the game be given additional schematics so that you can craft the upgrades, an upgraded version of these items. So they're not something that you just totally can wear early on, and then you got to get rid of them. You can pick them up later on and craft them. They come through this little special shipment chest. That's where the schematics show up. So just FYI, once you outgrow these, they're not gone permanently. You can always make some new ones. It just happens a little bit later in the game. So we're going to head out of our little house here and head up.
That's the Herald of Andraste.
To the Chantry. And we will have a few discussions. And then we will wrap up part 1 of the tutorial. I'm going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with part 2 after this
Chancellor
finishes
Roderick
up.
says that the Chantry wants nothing to do with us.
And what we're going to talk about in part 2 is the war table. We'll talk about Inquisition perks, farming chests out here in Haven, codexes, potion crafting, companions, some of the first early quests that you get inside Haven, how to complete those. We'll head out to the first zone that we discover, talk about some important stuff out there, and then we'll wrap up. So definitely got some good stuff coming in part 2, so stick around.
Chain him! I want him prepared for travel to the capital for trial.
Disregard that and leave us.
You walk a dangerous line, Seeker.
The breach is stable, but it is still a threat. I will not ignore it.
Boy, you about to get knocked out by a girl.
I did everything I could to close the breach. It almost killed me.
Yet you live. A convenient result insofar as you're concerned.
Have a care, Chancellor. The breach is not the only threat we face.
Someone was behind the explosion at the Conclave. Someone most holy did not expect. Perhaps they died with the others, or have allies who yet live.
I am a suspect?
You, and many others.
But not the prisoner.
I heard the voices in the temple. The Divine called to him for help.
So his survival, that thing on his hand, all a coincidence?
Providence. The Maker sent him to us in our darkest hour.
You really think your Maker would send someone like me?
The Maker does as he wills. It is not for me to say.
Even if that means a dwarf is his chosen?
Humans are not the only people with an interest in the fate of the world.
The breach remains, and your mark is still our only hope of closing it.
This is not for you to decide.
You know what this is, Chancellor. A writ from the Divine, granting us the authority to act. As of this moment, I declare the Inquisition reborn. We will close the breach, we will find those responsible, and we will restore order, with or without your approval.
This is the Divine's directive. Rebuild the Inquisition of old. Find those who will stand against the chaos. We aren't ready. We have no leader, no numbers. And now, no Chantry support.
But we have no choice. We must act now, with you at our side.
If you're truly trying to restore order...
That is the plan.
Help us fix this, before it's too late.
One raven to the Templars. one raven to the mages in Redcliffe. And Cullen doesn't know how to use a hammer because it looks like he smashes his finger. Oh yeah. Well, you know he's a man, you know, he just shrugged it off. He's like, meh, fingers. I got 9 more. I didn't need that one. Cassandra inspecting the troops. How can you not love Cassandra? I mean, really. Okay, so pay attention to the banner that drops down. Notice where it is. And notice where we are, kind of right back out in front again, and notice there is no banner. So it's like they put that up, and then they took it down. They're like, you know, maybe not. So that is the end of the first part here. I will definitely be back in just a sec with part 2. I hope you found the first part useful, and you got more good stuff coming. So stay with me. I'll be back just in a sec. Thanks. Take care. Hey, everybody. We're back with our second part of the beginner's tutorial for Dragon Age Inquisition. So I'm sitting here eating a little chow and realizing as I watch through the first part of this, just making sure there's nothing crazy in there, that there were a few things that I meant to mention that I didn't. Just want to cover those real quick before we get started. When you're doing your search ping, if you're on the PC, that's actually the V key. So in case you were hunting around for that, that's the V key you want to use. When you are looking at the quest map, I promised some advanced map stuff, and the one thing that I wanted to point out to you was your ability to drop a map marker. You can only drop one at a time. You can't drop a couple of them to indicate various spots you want to go back and check out. But when you do drop one, it's going to put this little blue map marker on your map, and when you look for it in the world, you're going to see this blue beam here. So it's a good indicator of someplace that you you can't find. You know you want to get somewhere, but you can't quite figure out how to get there. It's going to put it there. It happened to put it inside that building, and I don't want to really walk in there at the moment. But if we get out of there, try to drop it in front of us here. Wow, this is a total fail, isn't it? Put it over by Varric. So, what I want to show you is when you get close to it and walk into it, it will disappear. So, that's how those work. And the last thing was, I gave you my little soapbox on save early, save often, but throughout the whole first section of the video, you see me saving over top the same save game, and that is because I've got about 9 playthroughs rocking on here, and I have like 247 of 250 save games used. So I'm trying not to eat them up with this playthrough. I really only started this character so that I could do a tutorial for everybody to take a look at and use. And when I get done, I'm probably just going to delete this guy. But I just wanted to point that out because that's more of a do as I say, not as I do situation. And for like 2 hours, you were watching me save on top of the same save game and probably thinking, oh, yeah, okay, buddy, you just told us not to do that, and what do you think you're doing? So there's a reason. It wasn't just random, and I was ignoring my own advice. So now that we are out here in Haven, which is your kind of your main city, I was kind of referring to a main city that you would come across, you're going to have a couple things. In your journal, you were given some quests. First one being Haven's Best and Brightest, the next one being Know Thy Enemy. We are going to select Haven's Best and Brightest and do that first. So the first thing they want you to do is speak to a couple of the people in town. We're going to do the quartermaster first because she is actually up here I'm going to go over and speak to the quartermaster.
When will you be able to get us the
If
crafting
you've got
supplies
lyrium
we
to
need?
sell, Commander Cullen is handling all purchases. Oh, you're him. Thren, Inquisition Quartermaster. I'm doing what I can to supply this mess. If you find what I need to fill one of my requisitions, I'd appreciate you bringing it in.
What did you mean when you mentioned requisitions?
I'm making this Inquisition run with what we have, but we're not a real army. We're stretched thin on materials, so I've put up a requisition list for anything that could help our people. Here, take a look. You find some iron and a good logging site, maybe Harriet can get our troops better weapons.
If I have material for a special order, do I bring it to you?
Just take it over there. One of my boys will take the materials or jot down what you found.
Farewell.
Make her go with you.
Okay, and when you come out of that first cutscene here and you wind up standing outside the chantry, you're going to be given a new piece of armor. So even if you didn't get the digital deluxe edition, you will get some new armor. It's the scout coat. You were wearing the mercenary coat, so I'll compare them to so you can see the scout coat's a little better. It gives you +2 to cunning, which is always nice. I'm going to put the other armor back on though, but I did want to point that out to you, let you know you do get some new armor, which is nice. Okay, so she told you about requisitions, and then you saw something show up called Inquisition weapons, and so there are these tables that you're going to find at all of your camps, as well as there's one in each city near the requisition officer that are for requisitions in the game, and this one is the Inquisition weapons. And we can see on the right hand side that in order to fill the requisition we need 5 iron. That's why we were picking up all that iron when we were out doing the first part of the tutorial, and we also need to find a logging stand. So once we get all that together, we're going to bring it back and we can turn it in, and the reward for turning in requisitions is that you get power. And the concept of power hasn't been explored yet in the game, but what it's used for is unlocking various new zones in the game. So if you're going to have a map that we'll interact with a little bit later, and on the map there will be these various icons, and in order to unlock a new area it's going to require a certain amount of power. Now you're going to gain power by doing requisitions, doing quests, killing certain things. It's all going to kind of add up in that way. It's very natural. It's nothing you really have to worry about, but I wanted to point it out just because you probably were seeing the description and it said, reward +1 power, and wondering what the heck is that. So from the requisition officer, we're going to head up here to the apothecary. We'll walk around the back of this building. Just going to randomly kind of creep at the door there. Peeper. So, here's the apothecary. Go talk
Secret
to Adon.
Look who's back from the dead. Again.
My thanks for any part you played in that.
Yeah. Well, you can pay me back by fixing the world. Name's Adon. I'm in charge of keeping our little band here stocked with potions and elixirs. Not that Seeker Pentagast seems to care whether we've got the supplies to actually do that.
Okay, so this is the first time you're going to run into an NPC that, based on conversation options you have with them, they're actually going to give you a quest. So if we ask him if he needs any help...
Is there anything I can do to help out?
We're fine as far as raw labor goes. You've more important things to do than tend to me. I only wish I'd been able to find Master Tajin's notes. Old bastard was working on something special. He died at the Conclave, and his notes weren't here. Been too busy dealing with the wounded to look for them.
So when we break out of this conversation, you'll see that he actually just gave us a quest. And then you also want to ask him, how do I order potions? Because if you ask him that, he's going to give you a recipe for the rejuvenating potion, which is one of the potions I think we talked about in the first part of the video when I was telling you. There are potions that are kind of group pool potions and single pool potions. The rejuvenation potion happens to be one that is a potion, just for you to use, just for one of your companions to use. It's not something that is a shared pool type thing.
How do I go about having potions made?
Just take a look there and tell me what you'd like. Find a recipe for something better, I can make that too.
So you can see on the left there, we acquired the recipe regeneration potion recipe, and we picked up the quest passing notes. So part of the quest that we have now is there's a mixing potion quest, which wants you to go to this equip potion stand. Right, so when you find one of these tables you'll also find out at your camps in the world. They let you change the configuration of the potions you have on your belt. You can find actual belts in the game, which will increase the number of potions you can carry. You will also there's also something else that you can do that will unlock this third slot on your potions belt. However, for right now, we just have our healing potions, which everybody has, and then we have one open slot that we can put these custom potions into. So right now, the only thing that we have available to us is the regeneration potion. And once again, this is one of those single pool potions where you're going to make it and then only you can use it. If we go ahead and select it and then move over and highlight it and choose X for replenish, or click the replenish button if you're on the PC, see it's going to add one, and it subtracts 1 from our elf root count. It says have 4. If I do it again, it's going to say have 3. See how that works? So now those potions are only for me. So if we go out to like Cassandra, you can see she doesn't have them, Solus doesn't have them, Varric doesn't have them. They're really only for me. And you can add them to your other characters if you want. But the one thing that this won't do, though, when you go up to visit one of your camps or you hit a supply cache, it's not going to refill all of your potions. It's really just going to refill these. So you're going to need to use reagents like elf root if you want to replenish the stocks on these special potions that you craft. So
there you go.
That's equipping potions. Over here to this other table, which you will find in each one of your cities, is upgrading potions. Now you're going to find various categories of recipes in the game. They're going to be for potions, tonics, and grenades. Grenades are exactly what it sounds like. It's an offensive and sometimes a defensive thing you can use. You throw down at the enemy, it does damage to them. There's also one that will actually heal your party. It's called the Healing Mist Grenade. Very cool stuff. Tonics augment combat in some way. Oh, actually it says augment combat there. That means like you can get like a fire resistance potion. You can also get like a potion that increases your attack, things along those lines. And then potions obviously are potions. So if we check out potions, you're going to see there are 2 that are unlocked right now. There's a healing potion, regeneration potion. You're going to see this one just a little bit later when you finish passing notes. But if you select this, it gives you a couple upgrade options. And you can see on the right there that you could upgrade this, and when you do, it increases the healing of your potions by 50 points. But in order to do so, you need 29 elf root and 1 dawn lotus. Now we already picked up a dawn lotus, but we are about 26 shy on the elf root. We have 3, we need 29. So this is the reason why you're out in the world. You want to be picking these up because you're definitely going to want to upgrade your potions, and the only way to do that is to have sufficient herbs to do so. So I want to point that out as well because that's always helpful to be able to upgrade your potions. So we are going to head out into the world here and go down by the smith.
Near Redcliffe?
The smith is outside through these doors and off to the left.
A learned child is a blessing.
If the Inquisition wants to
upon his
field a
parents
decent
and
cavalry,
onto
it
the
needs better horses. I heard Seeker...
Expected you'd be by. I'm Harriet, and everyone knows who you are. How's the new gear fit?
Sturdy and warm. It's perfect.
Good. World's gone mad. Stock armor and blades are good against bandits, but we're not fighting bandits. My gear will see you through demons, apostates, whatever this world throws at you. So, you need custom work. Something special. You bring the materials to us, we'll make it happen.
Can you help improve my arms and armor?
Yes. You find a new piece, a pauldron or greaves, we'll take care of you. You can't just slap a new hilt on your sword in the field. Bring it here, we'll make sure it's done right and proper.
If I want something, what can you make?
Start simple. Something to keep you safe. Take a look at it on the table there and we can talk. You'll need materials. We should have what you want just outside.
Goodbye.
Right.
Okay, so we're not going to get into this just yet, because there are a couple other things I want to bring up before we get into it, but I am going to do a real basic overview on crafting. There's another video coming soon that will be a much more in-depth review of crafting, but I do want to go over just the basics. So, quest map, if we go and check out our journal, you can see passing notes is one of the quests we have, and that was to go out and find Master Tajan's notes. And if we pop back to the quest map, you can see that here is where passing notes is supposed to be. Here's the area that it could be in. Some of the quests are pinpointed quests where they tell you exactly where to go. Other ones, they kind of give you an area to search in. And the little hairy eyeball here is not necessarily the exact spot of where the item is, and I'll show you that here by putting the blue bar over top of it. So if we look over here, here is where it's telling us this is where the eyeball is, the center of it. Obviously there is nothing over here. There's some iron, which is, you know, always good to have, but there's no, you know, you don't find anything.
Might be something here. Better take
Right
a closer look.
However, when you're out floating around, your mini-map may begin to flash like you see on the left there. And when it does that, you're going to want to use your search ping to look around, quote-unquote. Your characters, your companions are going to say something when there's a hidden object nearby that you can find by using your search ping, and your mini-map is flashing. Going to say, hey, maybe we should look around. So they will give you some audible clue as to what's happening. If you do ping it, you will see that you get this nice little directional indicator that says, you know, walk forward. What you're looking for is in this direction. It's kind of a hot-cold type thing. And when you get close enough, it will reveal it. So all you need to do is hit it one more time when you're close enough, and it will reveal the item. Go ahead and grab that, and that was Master Tajan's notes. You can see we're getting pings on elf root and iron that are out here. However, before we do that and go back, we're going to want to check out another one, another quest we have, which is Requisition for Weapons. So we're going to select that, and we have the 5 iron, but we're still looking for this, you know, mystery logging stand. We haven't seen what that is yet. So we're going to drop our blue beam of death down there and head out and see if we can locate the logging stand. Now feel free when you're coming through here, notice there's a bunch of iron on the walls here. Definitely pick that stuff up for crafting. You can never have too many crafting materials. So we're going to head over here where we see our blue beam. Check it out, and no logging stand. But the logging stand is close. So if you head over just a little further, you're going to find this area here where you see all these chopped logs sitting on the ground, and this little flag that we can plant that says claim logging stand. So we'll drop that down, and we have now claimed our logging stand. Out in the world, logging stands will generally look very similar to this. You'll also find other places called quarries that are similar. However, there's a bunch of gray blocks sitting on the ground. They vary slightly, but in general, it's just like stacks of gray blocks on the ground, and there's a little flag in the middle. The quarries are also used to fill requisitions, just like the logging stands are. So if you see it, go ahead and mark it, even if you don't already have a requisition for it, because what it does is if you go into your crafting materials, you can see it adds an item called logging stand. If you find a quarry, it's going to add one called quarry. And you can hold on to them until later, and you know, nothing that's in your crafting materials takes up any inventory space, so you can have as many of them as you want. So as you find them out in the world, just go ahead and tag them, and it'll put them in your inventory, and when you need them, they'll be there. So we have our logging stand now, and the only other thing I wanted to point out while we're out here is these animals. They are called Druffalo. Now, as a bow rogue, they're kind of a pain to kill at level 1. And they don't really give you any experience. They give you like 2 experience, but they do drop some really nice crafting items, which is the Druffalo hide. And Druffalo hide is it increases critical chance and I think dexterity. So in the various slots for crafting. So we're gonna try and get this guy to give it up and give us one, so I can show that to you. They don't always drop it, so I've been out here and had to kill like 4 in a row, and they totally did not give me any. It wasn't until like I killed the 5th that I got one. So we'll try and see if we can get lucky on the first try out here and see if we can get him to give us some so I can show it to you. If not, I won't waste your time trying to kill 4 or 5, because it really does take so long to kill them as a bow-wielding rogue out here at level 1. But you can see he's really not doing any damage to me, so if you want to play around out here and gather up some good crafting materials, you can absolutely do that. Plus for the fact that when they do drop them, they tend to drop like 2, 3, 4, 5 at a time. So you can see he dropped 4. So this is what I was talking about. Some of the crafting options that it gives you is critical chance and adding to dexterity. Once again, we'll get to all that here in a second. But I wanted to show you that there are some level 1 guys floating around out here that will help you with your crafting early on. So what we're going to do is head back into, and there are also some goats, but the goats are usually really stingy. And they don't always drop stuff either, but when they do, they'll give you some ram leather. You can see what that gives you on your crafting. So there's definitely some stuff floating around out here you can kill to get some early crafting done. And you can see me walking around with my bow out. This is what I was talking about before, where you're kind of doing the pimp walk, where you're walking real slow. But in order to put your bow away, hit that disengage. That fixes that problem. That was the problem I was talking about earlier in the video. Now we're going to head back to town. Gonna go fill the requisition. I promise we'll come back to crafting. There's a reason I'm doing this in a specific order. There's certain things I want to talk about, and they kind of tie together over in that area as well. So we'll turn in our requisition, and you're gonna see that we get 1 power for it.
I heard some speak of using the Templars instead.
Oh.
So our influence went up.
I suppose that would work as well.
And we're going to get 1 power on the left. So you saw what power was. Influence is it's a 0 to 20 scale, or a 1 to 20 scale. And based on things you do in the world, like turning in requisitions, doing quests, killing things, you're going to increase your Inquisition's influence in the world. And in so doing, you get these Inquisition perk points that you can spend on various gameplay augmenting perks that you have available to you. They provide various things like more potions, more inventory, lots of different stuff. So I will show that to you towards the end of the video. But for right now, just you saw that on the screen. Just a quick mention of what that was. So now that we have all this, we are actually going to go into Haven, and we're going to turn in this quest, The Threat Remains, after we finish off Passing Notes. So Passing Notes was back over here at the Apothecary. And when we turn this in, we're going to get yet another recipe for him. This time we're going to get the Lyrium Potion recipe.
Fliss thought you...
You're back. And in one piece.
You said you thought Master Tejan was working on something special. If it helps, I found his notes.
The old codger was on the edge of a breakthrough here. But but he couldn't see it. You want some of these mixed up, you just give the word.
Farewell.
So you can see now we got the lyrium potion recipe. So if you are a mage, the lyrium potion might be something that you want to go ahead and equip and make some up. Once again, they're not healing potions. You don't automatically get them, although I honestly believe you should. They cost elf root to make. So if you want to make them, that's what they are. And
Perhaps another time.
they were the third slot in here that you saw that was locked before. So healing potion, regeneration potion, and lyrium potion. And they all have various different upgrade options that you can come in and check out on your own time and see what all that stuff is. Now we're going to head into the Chantry and turn in this quest. There's a bit of dialogue to sit through here.
Does it trouble you?
It stops spreading, and it doesn't hurt.
We take our victories where we can. What's important is that your mark is now stable, as is the breach. You've given us time, and Solas believes a second attempt might succeed, provided the mark has more power. The same level of power used to open the breach in the first place. That is not easy to come by.
What harm could there be in powering up something we barely understand?
Hold on to that sense of humor. May I present Commander Cullen, leader of the Inquisition's forces.
Such as they are. We lost many soldiers in the valley, and I fear many more before this is through.
This is Lady Josephine Montelier, our ambassador and chief diplomat.
I've heard much. It's a pleasure to meet you at last.
And of course, you know Sister Liliana.
My position here involves a degree of...
She is our spy master.
Yes, tactfully put, Cassandra.
That's an impressive bunch of titles.
I mentioned that your mark needs more power to close the breach for good.
Which means we must approach the rebel mages for help.
And I still disagree. The Templars could serve just as well.
We need power, Commander. Enough magic poured into that mark.
Might destroy us all. Templars could suppress the breach, weaken it, so...
Pure speculation.
I was a Templar. I know what they're capable of.
Unfortunately, neither group will even speak to us yet. The Chantry has denounced the Inquisition, and you specifically.
That didn't take long.
Shouldn't they be busy arguing over who's going to become divine?
Some are calling you, a dwarf, the Herald of Andraste. That frightens the Chantry. The remaining clerics have declared it blasphemy, and we, heretics, for harboring you.
Chancellor Roderick's doing, no doubt.
It limits our options. Approaching the mages or Templars for help is currently out of the question.
They aren't more concerned about the breach, the real threat?
They do know it's a threat. They just don't think we can stop it.
The Chantry is telling everyone you'll make it worse.
There is something you can do. A Chantry cleric by the name of Mother Giselle has asked to speak to you. She is not far, and knows those involved far better than I. Her assistance could be invaluable.
I'll see what she has to say.
You will find Mother Giselle tending to the wounded in the hinterlands near Redcliffe.
Look for other opportunities to expand the Inquisition's influence while you're there.
We need agents to extend our reach beyond this valley, and you're better suited than anyone to recruit them.
In the meantime, let's think of other options. I won't leave this all to the Herald.
Okay, so this is your war table. You got two sides to your war table, Orlais and Ferelden. Right now, there's not going to be anything on
Have
the
you kept
Orlais
in touch
side.
with our friends in Lady Esterly's estate?
Several bards will play for her tomorrow night. We will have names soon enough.
So on the Ferelden side, however, you can see there is this one little pyramid that says Scout the Hinterlands. It's available and it will cost 1. Cost 1 what? Cost 1 power. So this is the power we were talking about before. If you look down on the right hand side of the screen, you can see that we have 2 power. We have 0 Inquisition Perks, which is what I told you we'd talk about at the end of the video. And we're going to spend 1 power right now to scout the Hinterlands. So we're going to unlock the Hinterlands, but we're not actually going to go there yet. There's a few things I want to cover before we head out there. But you are going to see this cool cutscene. Okay, when you unlock a new area, you're going to get the accept report option, and then it's going to ask you if you want to venture forth or not now. I'm just pointing this out because there's a lot of times when this opens up and you think, oh, I got to go there right now. You don't have to do that. You can tell them that you don't want to go there right now. So by doing that, it actually brings us back to our war table and presents us with all these other icons now that we didn't have before. So what is the difference? The little triangles or the little pyramids are zones. So they're zones that you can unlock and go quest in. This is the Storm Coast. This is the Fallow Mire. Even though it doesn't have a name on it, it will as soon as you unlock it. And it tells you how much power is required to unlock it. My suggestion, honestly, would be that you unlock the Storm Coast as soon as you can. And the reason is there's some stuff out in the Hinterlands that's really it's much higher level than what you'll ever be while you're questing out there. So it can make some questing out there difficult. But once you get 4 power, if you come back here and unlock the Storm Coast, there's nothing out on the Storm Coast that is so higher level than you that you're going to have trouble completing all of the quests out there. So that would be definitely my recommendation. You know, head out to the Hinterlands, do enough stuff to get 4 power, and then come back, finish out the Storm Coast, and when you're done there, then go back to the Hinterlands, and you should be sufficiently leveled up to handle most of what's out there, minus one surprise that you'll run into that I won't ruin for you. So the pyramids are new zones, or zones you've already discovered. The little map markers here are war table operations, and when you run a war table operation, there are various rewards that come from it, and they take varying amounts of time, and you can either send one of your advisors on them, and you can either send Josephine, Leliana, or Cullen. And you only have 3 advisors, so you can only run 3 war table operations at any given point. And what you really want to do is read the operation, and then read what each one of your advisors says about the operation, how they want to handle it. Because in some of the operations, what you get as a reward, and whether or not you get follow-up quests or operations that happen after these, is all dependent on how you handle it. So Cullen will generally want to use some sort of force to resolve a operation. Leliana will want to use subterfuge, and Josephine will want to use diplomacy. So generally just kind of read through what they want to do and make your decision on what sounds good to you. There's no wrong answer. It's just a matter of how do you want to handle it, what do you think is best. And no matter what you choose, I promise there's nothing game-changing that you ever miss out on by doing something one way or another. If you're really that interested in it and it means that much to you, I know there are some there's some guides out there that kind of give you a breakdown of, you know, if you did this operation, if you chose this advisor, then this is what you get. If you chose this operation and you chose this provider, that is what you'd get, and break it down for you. But once again, It's nothing game-changing that you're getting as rewards. So just do what you want, play how you want, make the choices you want to make, and don't really let anybody else tell you the quote-unquote best way to play. So that is War Table Operations. Definitely keep 3 of these going at all times. That's really I strongly recommend that. You get gold out of them, you get influence out of them. Sometimes you get some items out of them. They're always fairly useful. So I always like to have 3 running at any given time. We will back out of this. Now we're going to finish up some things here in Haven, and then we'll head out to the hinterlands, have a brief discussion out there, and come back here. And then once we come back here, we will wrap up. So we came out of our, this is right here, this room is called the War Room. It says Summon War Council, but if you see people talking online about going to your war table inside your war room, this is the war room, and your war table is inside there. That's what that map was that we were looking at. So when you come out, there's a couple things to note. So all over in here, both inside the chantry
walk only where you would bid me.
And outside in Haven, you're going to find chests, containers, sacks, all kinds of stuff.
Then the golden city is thine.
So we're going to actually head over here into this little room here. And you're going to see this book. This is going to give you a codex entry. And when you read codex entries, you can see up at the top there, we got 50 experience for reading it. Some of your Inquisition perks that I was telling you about increase the amount of experience you get from reading codex entries.
Let all repeat the chant of light.
Okay, they talk way too much in here, so I'm going to get out of here so I can keep talking without having to compete with them for airtime. So, yeah, your Inquisition perks, they some of the ones that you take will increase the amount of experience you get for reading codex entries. You find codex entries all over the place.
Child, and I shall embrace you.
Yeah, you can embrace this. The nice thing about that is there are 4 Inquisition perks that you can take, so 4 points that you can spend in that, and it will eventually get it to the point where every time you touch a codex entry, you get 150 experience. Being that I've been through a number of playthroughs, my personal preference on codex entries is not to touch any of them in these main cities like Haven. There's another city you'll go to called Val Royeaux that has a lot of codex entries in it. Just for the fact that you can always go to them and you can pick those up. However, if you pick them up later, you get a lot more benefit from them than if you pick them up early on. So instead of getting 50, you get 150 experience. That's just a personal preference. Pick them up as you see fit, but I just wanted to mention that as a possibility, a way to get a little bit of extra experience out of the game. So out here, you are also going to find chests and containers. We talked about that. There is a way to kind of farm chests, farm containers in Haven in the first zone you get into here. And the way you do that is if you open one up, if it has 2 items in it, you can safely take 1 item out, leave the second item, and when you leave Haven, say when we go out to the hinterlands, when we come back to Haven, this little sack here will actually have different items in it because we haven't completely looted it out. Now all the sacks are going to contain like either valuables or crafting items. All the containers are going to have either weapons, armor, or they're going to have weapon, armor, schematics. And what schematics are is they are kind of like recipes that you use for crafting weapons and armor. That's generally why you want to farm these chests that you're going to find in Haven. The containers, the little sacks, they're just kind of they're a parting gift, so to speak. That a little bonus where you can get some extra crafting materials out of them to help you on your way. So what I want to do is I want to point out all the locations in Haven where you can find containers that may or may not give you crafting schematics. So the first one is inside the apothecary's hut. Go in here and check this out. Now, just found a common sledgehammer in here. We're going to leave that. So what you want to do is leave at least one item in every container. That will make sure that the container resets when you leave the zone and come back. So the first one's over there. The next one is down here behind this tent. Same thing, it only had one thing in it. We're going to leave that. The next ones are going to be in here.
Word for heaven or for earth, for sea or sky.
First one's over here on the right.
All that existed was silence. Then
Check
the
that
voice
out.
of the Maker rang out.
If you want to take one of these, absolutely take something because there are 2 items in there, so there's no reason to leave both of them.
Researcher Minave wishes to verify that the infection...
So we're going to head downstairs, and we're going to find a few more containers down here, and some codex entries. If we use our search, you can see there's a codex entry over here, there's one over here. We can grab those both real quick, and you can see they're just giving us 50 experience. Grab them if you want, leave them till later, however you want to do it. Here's another container. Now, if you're a rogue, you're going to find some locked doors down here. You can absolutely open them and go inside. What you're really not going to find is anything special. You're going to find codex entries and some crafting materials, but that's it. Nothing game-changing. You can see in here there's a couple codex entries. Looks like there's 3, and there's this little chest, but it doesn't contain anything other than crafting materials. So, nothing too incredibly special. You just get a little bit of extra of experience here in the beginning. There are also some locked doors in here you can open if you want, for pretty much for the same deal, but there is this one chest over here that everybody can get at. And if you look in here, this is what I was talking about before as your crafting schematics. This is a armor modification item called Defender Male Legs. So we're going to take that. We're going to take the gold, leave the staff, and get out of here. So those schematics are really what you're after. And as I was saying earlier, back when we were first starting the tutorial, is a nice thing about the schematics is they allow you to craft items. And the crafted items can be as good or better than the items you pick up naturally, and they don't have a level requirement, so you can use them whenever you want. So those were chests that were here. There is another container and a sack around this corner.
How many people are going to die before this is over?
So we'll check this out. Just a valuable in there. Just some armor in that. We're going to leave both of those so they reset next time we come in here. And I'm not going to point out all of the sacks. I'm just going to point the ones that we run directly past, just so you can see where some of them are. You can venture around in here and see where the rest are. But we're going to head down here and out, and I'm going to point out 3 more chests to you, and that's going to be kind of it for the chests that are out here. You can find.
See reason.
Here's one right here.
We cannot stay here. Why not? Because we're Templars.
There's one right here. And then the last one is on the other side of these tents here. Check that out. So we only found 1 schematic this time, but that doesn't mean the next time you come through here you won't find more. Along those same lines, we were talking about crafting earlier, and what the blacksmith suggested you do was check out some materials that are located outside here. If you look in this box, you're going to find a schematic, and you're also going to find some crafting materials. So, the crafting materials, go ahead, and my suggestion is take the 2 that you want the most, and leave 1, because when you come back here, now the schematic is not going to show up again. However, the crafting materials will repopulate in here. So if the next time you want to grab onyx and nugskin, or you want to grab the druffalo hide and nugskin, it'll all be here for you. And if you come over here and look, there is a armor modification item. This is all that really ever shows up here, so we're just going to loot this so that I can show you how that kind of works. Let's see here. We have a quest that I think is to make some armor. So we'll look at Haven and the right armor. So we have a quest to create some armor, and we have a quest to modify some armor. So we're going to go ahead and create the armor first. And in order to create armor, you're going to come to the craft armor table. And you're going to see here that you have these schematics listed out here on the left that you can choose from. And up at the top, you see this left LB, RB. Those are for left bumper, right bumper on the controller. I'm assuming you can just kind of click on this stuff on the PC. But it allows you to filter your schematics to various categories. So this is heavy armor, medium armor, light armor, and helmets. So we are going to craft a scout coat because that's medium armor, and that's what we will wear as a rogue. So the main slot here, the thing that has like a little arrow and the circle on it, that indicates your main slot in crafting. The main slot is chiefly responsible for providing the amount of armor a piece of armor gives, or the amount of damage a weapon gives. So we're going to select one of these items here. It does not matter which one you select as far as the armor goes at this level. As you go up in level and you find some higher level crafting materials, you will find that that armor rating will go up based on which ones you select here. However, right now it's really not making a difference. It's just changing the color, and frankly we don't have enough of anything else to choose, so we're just going to choose Druffalo Hide. And we're going to go down here, and what this is showing us is that we have another slot to use, and it is a defense slot. And so the defense slot has this little shield over top of it. We're going to choose that, and we're going to look at our other crafting materials here, and you're going to notice that we really don't have enough to use anything else, so we're just going to have to use the Druffalo Hide. But it says defense slot, so how do you know what does what for various slots? If you look down on the left here, you can see that it lists out primary slot, utility slot, offense slot, defense slot, and it tells you what each one of these things does based on, or sorry, what this specific crafting material does based on what slot you put it in. So we happen to be putting it in a defense slot, and by putting it in the defense slot, it increases our cold damage resistance by 10%. So we're going to go ahead and select that, craft our item, and we have our coat. Now, when you do craft an item, if you craft something really awesome that you love, you do have the ability to rename it, and since this first item is so awesome, we're going to give it a custom name. And go ahead and create that item. So we back out, go into our inventory, we can check out that we have this new crafted item, Mr. Codeslinger's coat, and it does have that yellow icon that I was talking to you about before because it was a crafted item. And if you craft an item and you want to compare it to your existing stuff, it works the exact same way. Just kind of hit your compare, and it will show you how it stacks up to what you currently have equipped. What you will notice on this armor is that it has these slots that we were talking about earlier as far as armor and weapon upgrade slots. This has 2 armor upgrade slots. It says medium arms, medium legs. That means that there are arm upgrades and leg upgrades for this armor that you can put in this that will modify the armor. If we go back to our crafting table, this is the Defender Male Legs. This is a heavy armor leg upgrade. Okay, so what we have is medium armor. That's what we just crafted. So these won't work for that because they're a heavy armor leg upgrade. But if you had crafted some sort of heavy armor and it had a slot for it, this is what you would craft to put in there. Now you can either find these items or actually craft these items. What we wound up looting from this box over here on the left was a medium armor arm upgrade. So if you have it, look in your inventory here under upgrades, you see I have Scout Coat Arms. This upgrade can only be attached to medium armors. So what it's going to do is it's going to upgrade the item that we just crafted. We're going to go to this Modify Armor Anvil, select it, and then we're going to select this item that we just crafted, our fancy coat. And you can see that medium arms is in white, medium legs is in red. Now the reason it's in red is because we don't currently have any upgrades that'll go in this slot. Doesn't mean you can't use it, just means that right now we don't have anything that fits the bill. However, we do have something we can put in medium arms, and if you take a look at the arms real close, you're going to notice that when we go ahead and select the item that we have in our inventory, it's going to change the look of your arms on your armor. So you can see how it's that, and then this one is a little bit different. It's got those kind of like copper looking bracelets on. So it changes the look and feel of it a little bit. Go ahead and select that. And you can notice that now our armor also has plus 3% range defense, because that is what the upgrade, the Scout Coat arms, had on it. So we're going to confirm changes, and it's going to put those on there. And now we have some fancy bracelets and another 3% in range defense. So that's just the basics of crafting armor. Nothing too complicated. As I said, I don't want to get too deep into the discussion of crafting weapons and armor, because there is a lot to it. There is another video coming that gets real deep on it. But crafting weapons works the exact same way. You've got this basic slot up at the top there, you see, with a little arrow of it that controls your damage, and then you have an offense slot with this specific bow. If we go into the crafting, you can see that onyx is what we'd be using for the damage, and none of these really affect damage in any way. They're all the same. And then if we go down to this is a leather offense slot. So you can see that by putting 6 of these in here, we're going to gain 6% critical chance. So we go ahead and craft that item. And once again, when you craft weapons, you still have the ability to rename them. So if I wanted to rename this, since this is such an awesome item, I can rename it to whatever I want. And now I have my own custom bow. If I go into my inventory and check out my weapons, I can see that it's really doesn't compare to what I already have equipped. So this also has that empty grip slot that I was talking about before, which is a weapon upgrade, kind of like how we put those Scout Coat arms on our armor. There are various weapon upgrades that you can create, and for bows it's a grip, and when you get one of those, you can create a grip and stick it in here, and it will upgrade, add some more stats to your bow. Same thing with runes. If you could create a rune, you could dump a rune in here. You just can't create runes at this part of the game. It does come later. So that's just some very, very basics on crafting. You can get a lot fancier with it. I just don't want to go too deep in it. Next thing I wanted to point out is collections. So there are collections throughout the game, all kinds of stuff you can collect, but there happens to be an easy one right here that you can grab, and it'll help me show off the collections tab inside your journal. So you can see up on the right it said Patron of the Arts, songs collected 1 of 21. So that's a special collection in the game, and if we go to the journal and check out collections, underneath songs there is Patron of the Arts, and you can see that there are 20 additional songs that we can collect that will fill out this collection. Now, completing the collection really does nothing for you special. That's game changing by any means. It's just something to collect when you're out playing through the game. And if you're one of those people that likes to finish out collections, this game has plenty of them to quench your thirst. Now I wanted to go up and show you that companions are more than just taking them out in the world and having them come with you and provide some witty repartee and give you approval or disapproval. They also have the ability to give you quests. So we're going to talk to Varric once, and it's going to go through a quick little cutscene, and then we're going to talk to him again and check out how we can get a quest from him.
So, now that Cassandra's out of earshot, are you holding up all right? I mean, you go from being the most wanted criminal in Thedas to joining the armies of the faithful. Most people would have spread that out over more than one day.
None of this shit should have happened.
You don't know the half of it. For days now, we've been staring at the breach, watching demons and maker knows what fall out of it. Bad for morale would be an understatement. I still can't believe anyone was in there and lived.
I'm still not sure I believe that any of this is really happening.
If this is all just the Maker winding us up, I hope there's a damn good punchline coming. You might want to consider running at the first opportunity. I've written enough tragedies to recognize where this is going. Heroes are everywhere. I've seen that. But the hole in the sky, that's beyond heroes. We're going to need a miracle.
Okay, so that's one chance to talk to him. Now, every time you talk to him when you get into Haven, he's not going to break into a cutscene. That just is the first time when you talk to him. Second time you talk to him,
Need something?
you get the very basic dialogue options. What you want to do is ask him about Red Lyrium.
The red lyrium we found at the temple seemed to upset you.
My brother Bartrand and I sort of discovered Red Lyrium during an expedition in the Deep Roads. We located an ancient Tig, so old it barely looked dwarven. There was this idol there made of it. Bartrand brought it back to the surface, and, well, everything's gone downhill from there.
I think that's enough on red lyrium.
Yeah,
And that's enough
not
of you
really
doing
my
that funky little
favorite
dance,
subject.
too. So, you can see Seeing Red on the right there. Primeval Red Lyrium deposits found. So, what that just did showed you that there are conversation options that you can have with NPCs and specifically your companions that will unlock specific quests in the game. If you have Varric with you and you find those deposits and destroy them, it will increase his approval of you. If he's not with you and you destroy them, it will increase his approval, but not nearly as much. Okay, so now that we've discussed that, we're going to head out to the hinterlands, talk over a few more things. We're going to come back. I'm going to show you how those chests repopulated, and then we're going to take a quick break and come back with discussing Inquisition perks, and we will wrap up with that. So, from here, we're going to go to our quest map. We've already unlocked the hinterlands, so we are going to go to our world map and just select the hinterlands and go out there. When you decide to travel anywhere, you're going to get your party selection screen, and it's going to list out all of the companions that you have. Right now, you only have 3. You have Varric, Cassandra, Solus, and if you look underneath their little tarot cards, it will also tell you what class they are. So if you grab a new companion, you're really not sure what their function is, you can always check out what class they are here, or you can go into your character record and page through them there. So we're just going to select everybody. One thing to note is that if for some reason you wanted to travel without your companions, you can absolutely do that by just hitting confirm, and it's going to give you this little "Are you sure you want to delete?" type box that says, "Are you sure you want to venture forth without a full party?" If you say yes, you're going to go out into the world alone. I don't want to do that for this specific scenario because there are a few things I want to point out once we get out there, and I need a party to do that. So we're going to confirm. We're going to travel out to the hinterlands, and every time you go to a new zone, you're going to have a default interaction with Scout Harding, and she is going to kind of brief you on what's going on in the area and some things you need to be aware of. So that's how each new zone starts.
Herald of Andraste. I've heard the stories. Everyone has. We know what you did at the breach. It's good to see another dwarf in the Inquisition. There aren't many of us around. Inquisition Scout Harding, at your service. All of us here, will do whatever we can to help.
Harding, huh? Ever been to Kirkwall's Hightown?
I can't say I have. Why?
You'd be Harding and... No, never mind.
Ugh.
I'm starting to worry about these stories that everyone's heard.
Oh, there's nothing to worry about. They only say you're the last great hope for Thetis.
Oh.
No pressure.
Wonderful.
The hinterlands are as good a place as any to start fixing things. We came to secure horses from Redcliffe's old horsemaster. I grew up here, and people always said that Dennett's herds were the strongest and the fastest this side of the Frostbacks. But with the Mage Templar fighting getting worse, we couldn't get to Dennett. Maker only knows if he's even still alive. Mother Giselle's at the crossroads helping refugees and the wounded. Our latest reports say that the war's spread there too. Corporal Vale and our men are doing what they can to help protect the people, but they won't be able to hold out very long. You best get going. No time to lose.
Okay, so when you first get out to the hinterlands, you check out your quest map. When you see on your quest map this big arrow, these arrows indicate plot locations where to advance the plot of the game, or the main plot of the game, this is where you want to go. Obviously in the hinterlands, going here is what they were talking about finding Mother Giselle and speaking to her. My recommendation is when you first get out here, just go out here and finish this out, because it's going to give you a waypoint out here, a vendor, and you're going to discover this town. There's some other quests there, so it's good to just go knock that out first when you get out here. So you're in a camp. Remember we talked about camps and how camps are waypoints in zones that you can fast travel to, and they also have potion tables, and they have that when you go back here, it'll heal you up and replenish all of your potions. If you look on the map, you're going to see a bunch of orange camps. These are undiscovered camps that you can find during your journeys. I highly recommend you just kind of float around and find the camps that you can as early on as possible. It will make getting around and questing much easier. Your active quest outside of the plot quests will be marked with that hairy eyeball that you're used to seeing. Other than that, your inactive quests that happen to be out here that you can interact with are going to be these diamonds. So these are quests that you have in your journal but you don't have as active. And when you see these icons on the map, these are rifts that you can interact with and close. Rifts, closing them are a great source of experience, and you do get power for it. So definitely I encourage you to play around with the rifts. Just note that as I was telling you before about why you should get about 4 power out here and then go to the Storm Coast, there are some rifts out here that are absolutely level 8, and they will totally decimate your party if you're not of the appropriate level to deal with them. So just watch out for that stuff. If you come across a rift that you just randomly stumble into and it totally kills everyone in your party, it was probably because everything at the rift was much higher level than you. So, but once you get out here, I want to point out, you don't have to come out here to do this, but I wanted to come out here for other reasons, and we're going to do this while we're out here anyways, is point out leveling up of companions. So you can see on the left there, everybody's icon has this up arrow that's showing over top of it. That means that your companions and or you have leveled up through the course of your adventuring. So if you go to the character record, kind of like how we added ability points to ourselves, you can also add ability points to your companions. So if you want to customize how a companion builds out their skill trees, you can absolutely do that by micromanaging their allocation of ability points. However, if you are playing as a rogue and you have a mage and a warrior with you, and you're just like, man, I don't know what any of these abilities are. I don't know what they do. I don't really know how to use them. And frankly, I don't care. I'm playing a mage. I'm playing a rogue. That's all I want to know about. That's all I care to play. You can just use the auto level up option. And the game generally makes some fairly intelligent choices about where to put the points. So we can do that. The one thing I would recommend is that on your mage, that instead of auto leveling up like I just did, is that early on you spec yourself down into Dispel, just so that you can get that rift clearing ability. It's not a must. It's just a recommendation. It's something I personally like, not something you absolutely have to do. If you're trying to follow a specific build guide, that may not be included. That's okay. It's definitely not something you have to do. It really is just something that I like, and I usually go after first thing just to kind of get it out of the way. So that is leveling up and auto leveling up. And when you get to these camps, you are going to find, kind of like when we were in Haven, we went and talked to that Requisition officer, and she gave us the Inquisition weapons requisition. When you get out to these camps, you're going to find a little exclamation point floating around, which means there's a quest that this person or thing is going to give you. In this case, it happens to be a person, and it is the Requisition officer. When you talk to her...
This might interest you, sir.
What is it?
You may want to look into this.
She's going to give you a quest, and the quest she gave us was Hinterland's Tapestry Requisition. So, if we go up into our journal and go over to current quests, the Hinterlands, you can see that here's this new quest we just got, and she wants us to collect 5 velveteen and 4 decorative gems. Now the velveteen is just a random piece of cloth crafting item that you're going to get from killing stuff or from containers that you loot. Decorative gems are definitely going to come from killing things, humanoids I believe, out here in the Hinterlands. Once you collect enough of them, you can bring them back to your requisition table. Remember how I told you there was a table out in every camp? And you can turn this in and it will give you 1 power. So when you turn this in, it will also give you influence. I forgot to mention that before. So 1 power plus the influence. It's a good way to raise your influence and get your Inquisition perk points a little bit quicker. And it's stuff you generally get just through adventuring anyways. So it's nice to get these, knock them out, and then come back, turn them in, and get a new one. All you have to do is talk to the Requisition officer, and they'll always be ready to give you a new one. The only problem is, if you get one that kind of sucks, you can't drop it. Out here, there is one in particular that's like that. It requires obsidian, which is a metal that early on in Dragon Age Inquisition you don't have access to. It is out in this zone. It is up in this area. But there's a surprise up in this area that you should go check out at least once, and then you'll realize why you don't really have access to it. So just be aware, if you get the one for Obsidian, you're kind of screwed for requisitions out in the Hinterlands until you get a little higher level, or until you get somewhere else that you can pick up Obsidian. If you go over here, you'll notice there is one of these potions tables that I was telling you about. So when you come back to camp, you can you're going to not only be able to replenish your healing potions, but by going to this table, you have the ability to replenish your kind of one-off potions that you have created for yourself to use. Alright, so that's just the basics of being out in the zone. I'm not going to go out into too many details. I'll let you explore and do your own thing out here. Once again, just find your camps, go down and talk to Mother Giselle to get yourself started. We are going to go back to Haven. We're going to look at those chests. We're going to visit a vendor, and then we're going to wrap up. Okay, so we are back in Haven now. I'm not going to hit all the chests, but what I will do is just visit a few of them so you can see that the loot did change.
We cannot stay here.
So
why not? Because we're
that
Templars.
was like an electricity staff, a shocking staff last time. Come over here and check this chest. That was like some light armor last time.
Better that than stay here with this Inquisition.
I don't even remember what that was. So just some other things you can check there, and I'll also show you how this the blacksmithing's
So if we get
crafting
better
materials
You think that'll make a difference?
did refresh as
Master Dennett's
well.
forces in the hinterlands are faster and stronger than
So you can
anything.
see all that stuff that you picked up
Good
came
horse
back.
can make all the difference.
So it helps you get some early on crafting materials together. Maybe it's cheating, maybe it's not. I don't know. I think it's working as intended, and we're just kind of utilizing it the way it's meant to be used. But while we're standing here in the blacksmith, every blacksmith that you find is going to have this vendor here that has this standard that represents the vendor. If you interact with it, of the things, the only things you can buy from it are these necklaces called Tactician's Renewal. The first one you buy costs 1 gold. After that, they cost 345 gold. If we go ahead and buy one, this item is what allows you to reset your own as well as the your companion's abilities. So if you get down into your ability trees and you're playing around with it and you finally get to a point where you're like, man, I really screwed up. I really got to go back, and I wish I could really go back and just kind of redo these. Or you find a companion that is set up to use, like you find a rogue that you want to take with you, and the rogue is set up to use a bow. That's when you auto level them up. The game just keeps putting them in bow, and you get to the point where like, I really wish they were a dagger rogue. You can go back and reset their abilities, and then you can manually go through and assign points in their ability trees to make them a dagger rogue. Same thing with a warrior. If the warrior is a two-handed warrior by default, and you really wanted them to be sword and board, you can go back and customize their trees to make them whatever you want. So if you go into accessories, you can see if I go to my character record, I have 0 points to spend right now. But if I go into my inventory, I go to accessories, and I equip this necklace. It doesn't show it equipped because it immediately destroys it the moment you equip it. But if we go back to the character record, you can see now I have 4 points to spend, and I can completely build my character in whatever other way I so desire. So it's a quick way to refresh. If you got the gold, you're probably not going to be respecking too many times, but if you want to play around with see how some of these other trees work, it's definitely a good way to do that. And although that was a vendor, well, I'm going to take you over to the other vendor that is in here. So you can tell what vendors are by this little icon here. It's the merchant icon. Okay, and these little mortar and pestles tend to be crafting stations. So this is the blacksmith, and this is the apothecary. That's up there near Adon where we were, and we were talking to the guy who gave us the regeneration potion recipe, the lyrium potion recipe, and we did that quest called Passing Notes to go out and find Master Tajan's notes. The heads on the map are companions that you can interact with, and some of your advisors. So this is Leliana. She's not a companion, unfortunately, but she is an advisor, and you can interact with her. And here's Josephine, advisor that you can interact with. So we're going to go up and see the other vendor. And he is right here. Do buy, sell, and you can see that he has all kinds of stuff to sell across the various categories. He does sell some schematics. These are for upgrading Varric's bow. But if you want to sell, this is your valuables tab, and you can see how here's that stuff that we put over in here. So by putting it over here, it just makes it, one tab you can quickly go through and sell items from and be done with it, versus having to page through each one of these. There's armor, and then find what you want to sell, and then weapons, and finding what you want to sell. If you just put everything in valuables, it's easy to quickly burn through selling that stuff and not worry about it. So we're going to back out of here.
And how much is Mother Giselle willing to offer?
Can you really put a price
And just
on
FYI, there are other codex entries all over in here. I just didn't take you through and show you all of them. But definitely explore the houses, explore more in the chantry, because there's definitely more codex entries in the chantry.
Cedric said the blankets weren't worth selling. He's giving them to the Inquisition.
Here's another chest over here. Don't forget about this one. You test that out, see if it's got anything in it worth grabbing. We're going to head inside the chantry, and we are going to check out creature research items, because we mentioned them earlier, but we haven't turned them in yet. And they're actually in here.
The Inquisition cannot remain, Ambassador. If you can't prove it was founded on Justinia's orders.
This is an inopportune time, Marquis. More of the faithful flock here each day. But allow me to introduce you to the brave soul who risked his life to slow the magic of the breach. Master Kadash, this is the Marquis d'Aurelion, one of Divine Justinia's greatest supporters.
And the rightful owner of Haven. House d'Aurelion lent Justinia these lands for pilgrimage. This Inquisition is not a beneficiary of this arrangement.
Interesting, considering the Inquisition was begun by the left and right hands of the Divine.
I've seen no written records from Sister Liliana or Seeker Penticus that Justinia approved the Inquisition.
If you won't take her at her word, I'm afraid Seeker Pentagast must challenge him to a duel.
What?
It is a matter of honor among the Navarrans. Shall I arrange the bout for tonight?
No. No. Perhaps my reaction to the Inquisition's presence was somewhat hasty.
We face a dark time, Your Grace. Divine Justinia would not want her passing to divide us. She would, in fact, trust us to forge new alliances to the benefit of all, no matter how strange they might seem.
I'll think on it, Lady Montillier. The Inquisition might stay in the meanwhile.
I'm so pleased the Marquis isn't tossing us out into the cold.
His Grace is only the first of many dignitaries we must contend with.
You expect more people in Haven?
Undoubtedly. And each visitor will spread the story of the Inquisition after they depart. An ambassador should ensure the tale is as complimentary as possible.
The Inquisition is lucky to have you as an advocate, Lady Montillier.
Thank you. Let us hope so. Thedas's politics have become agitated as of late. I hope to guide us down smoother paths. But please excuse me. I've much work to do before the day is done.
So when you come in here, you're going to find this table, and it says turn in research. Over here we have Maeve. She is your researcher, and if you walk up to the table and interact with, it will take those shadow essences, if you have 1, 2, 10, 20, whatever, or whatever else you other have in your inventory that are creature research items, out.
We can use that.
You're going to get some experience for them. It completed that quest, Know Thy Enemy, which we got way back in the beginning. And if you had enough, it would give you bonus damage against demons. But we didn't have enough there, so it didn't show up. But if you do, it will show up. Head back out here.
In the Maker, fire is her water. As the moth sees light and goes toward flame.
So feel free to poke around out here a little more and recheck those chests, those sacks that had crafting materials in them. They're all over, and you're going to find that they've all reset themselves, so you'll have all kinds of new stuff in there waiting for yourself. Feel free to do that as much as you want. You know, you're going to be in and out of Haven a lot, so every time you come back, it'll give you something to do, and maybe some nice surprises waiting for you. We're going to wrap up with this and then move on to talking about Inquisition Perks. That will be coming in the next part, and then we'll be finished. So stay tuned. We'll be back in just a sec with Inquisition Perks. All right, everybody, we are back with our third and final part of the beginner's tutorial.
Have you
we are
kept in
going
touch
to
with
talk
our
about
friends in Lady
Inquisition
Estherly's
Perks.
estate?
Several bards will play for her tomorrow night. We will have names soon enough.
Inquisition Perks are going to be accessed from your war room. I showed you how to get there. From the war table interface, you're going to have an option to select Inquisition Perks. You see that down on the left, and you can see that on the right I have 1 Inquisition perk point. Now you gain these perk points, as I told you before, by gaining influence, and you get influence by doing quests, talking to certain NPCs, and killing certain bad guys in the game. So all these things together will amount to you increasing your influence. You can also get some influence by running some of these additional war table operations. that you see on the map. All that culminates together, and it gives you more Inquisition influence, which eventually, as you level up, will give you more perks. So right now we're like at level 2 on our Inquisition perk levels. When you get to level 3, you'll get another one. Level 4, you get another one, all the way up to level 20. So that's how you're getting your Inquisition perk experience. However, once you have points to spend, if you go into your perks, there are 4 categories of perks. So you got Forces, Secrets, Connections, and Inquisition. We're going to start by looking at Forces. I'm going to run through all of them and kind of give you a little bit of editorial on each, and tell you what my preferences are. Take them, leave them, however you want to handle it. But I'm going to go through just some of the basics of how Forces, the Inquisition perks work. So once you have points to spend, you come out here and you're going to see all these various options that you can choose from. Okay, so the way you unlock these is either they're open by default, like these two are, or you have a certain number of points already allocated in these categories in order to open them. So you can see this one says you need 2 points needed in this category in order to unlock it. Other ones require that you unlock certain perks first. So in order to unlock Antivan Stitched Saddle, you're going to require Rider's Posture being unlocked first. Other ones require you to perform certain actions in the game, like right here it says capture any keep. Not right now, but later in the game you're going to have the ability to capture up to 3 different keeps in various zones, and once you capture your first one, these abilities will become open to you. Those zones are Emprise du Lion, the Western Approach, and Crestwood. So just 3 zones you may want to check out early on in order to open up some more Inquisition perks. However, the kind of cool thing with the ones that require a certain number of points in a given category in order to unlock is that throughout the world you're going to find these NPCs that you will either do quests for, or you're going to just have some dialogue with, and they're going to offer to help the Inquisition. And if you accept their help, they may become agents for you. And when you recruit a new agent, it will tell you on screen that you've gained a new agent, and the agents are actually going to show up in one of these 4 categories. And how they kind of serve you by being in these categories is they actually represent a point being allocated in the category. So right now, I haven't selected any of the Inquisition perks in this category. However, because I have one agent, Cerberus, the game pretty much treats that as if I have already put 1 point in this category. So for something like Rider's Posture, where it says 2 points needed in the category, if I were to come up here and put a point into Underworld Knowledge, that would technically be like having 2 points in this category, because I have 1 point I physically put here, and then I have another point that kind of comes from having this agent. So I'll do that now and show you how that works. So right now you can see that it says I need 2 points in the category to unlock this, but I'm going to put a point here, and now everything is locked out because I have no Inquisition perk points. But if you go down and look at Rider's Posture now, it no longer says you need 2 points in the category, because technically I now have 2 points in the category. If you go down and look at the others, you can see they still say 4 points needed in the category, things along those lines. But I just wanted to kind of point out to you how agents work. So let's talk about what some of these are. Underworld Knowledge. You heard me speak earlier about how some Inquisition perks would increase the amount of experience you get from Codex entries when you read them. This happens to be one of those. So if you take this, this is going to increase the amount of experience you get from reading Codex entries by 50%. There are 4 of these types of perks. There is 1 in Forces, 1 in Secrets, Arcane Knowledge there. There's 1 in Connections, Nobility Knowledge, and there's 1 in Inquisition called History Knowledge. So if you take all 4 of them, it eventually gets you to the point where you're getting 150 experience for every Codex entry you read. Very nice. My personal preference, honestly, is with my first 4 Inquisition perk points. I just take the first one in each one of these categories, just because of the extra experience that it gives me. So, Masasha's method grants a 5% increase in XP earned from killing foes. This is a definite for me. I always take this one. Rider's posture in an even stitch saddle. Although the mounts are cool in the game, I grant them that. They look very cool. I really don't find much use for them, and the reason being that you can't. There's no mounted combat, and you can't search or interact with anything from your mount. So if you're running around on your mount, you can't use your little sonar ping to search the area for things, and then when you find them, you can't interact with them anyway. So if you like run up on some iron or some elf fruit or whatever, you can't interact with it from your mount. You have to dismount, so it's kind of annoying. The only good thing that mounts, I honestly feel, do is they allow you to jump from like really high heights and fall without taking fall damage. So so it's just not worth it to me to put points in here. Feel free to do that if you use them all the time. Focus. Focus is another combat resource similar to stamina and mana that you will gain access to later in the game. What this does is allow you to increase the amount you can quote-unquote hold. So the maximum amount of focus that you can have at any given time, it by default is 100. If you take this, it'll allow you to hold 200. If you take the next one, it'll allow you to hold 300. Focus is what's used by special abilities that each specialization that you may or may not take has. They all have one ability. That's a focus ability, and it uses this focus combat resource up. So if you get yourself into a situation where you really like your focus abilities and you find that you're using them a lot, this will, by increasing the amount of focus you have, it'll make them much more effective when you use them. This is stuff that, yeah, take it or leave it, is my opinion. You make your decision on your own based on how you're using your focus abilities. True Grit. All party members gain a 10% increase to all defenses. Must have. I always take this. More healing potions. Depending on what your difficulty is set to, this might be a must-have. If you're playing on casual or normal, this probably isn't something that's a must-have. If you're playing on hard or nightmare, absolutely. I mean, more healing potions, please. You absolutely need them. So make your decision based on how often you're using your healing potion. It's going to give you 4 more, so it's going to bump you up to 12. It's a nice to have, and on the higher level difficulties, especially harder nightmare, honestly, for me, it's a must-have. It's something I always take. Mage schematics, rogue schematics, and warrior schematics. What is this, and what does it give you? Some more advanced crafting schematics for mages, rogues, warriors. If you want to check out what they are and see if there's something that you really honestly can't live without or you really want, my recommendation is that you take it, you save your game. If you have a perk point to spend, save your game, come in here, select it, and then back out of your war room and see what it gives you. Go down to the blacksmith, check them out. If there's something there that's just so cool that you couldn't live life without, then, totally leave your perk point in there. If not, you can always reload your game and take your perk point out and put it somewhere else. You know what I mean? So, try it out if you find something. For me, personally, I usually don't put any points in them. I've checked them all out, and there wasn't anything so wonderfully special that I thought, my world would end or my game would change if I just didn't have those items. So that is forces. We'll pop down to secrets. Okay, so arcane knowledge, we already talked about that one. That's just going to increase your codex entry stuff. As I said before, for me, my first 4 points, sorry, go into the first item in each one of these trees just to increase my codex entry. Optimal cutting grants 10% chance to receive extra herbs with each harvest. Meh. Yeah, I don't say I never take it, but generally I don't take this one. Eagle-eyed. Grants a significant increase to the discovery range of the searching action. So the searching action is your little sonar ping that you use to search around. This is nice to have. It's not mandatory. Enhanced studies grants an additional 50% XP for each foe studied. What this is talking about is when you turn in your creature research items, you're getting experience for turning that in. You're going to get more experience for turning stuff in and discovering new creatures than you normally do. And also it says it's applied retroactively, so if you decide to pick this up late in the game and you've already turned in a bunch of creature research items, it's not that big of a deal. It's going to retroactively apply the experience to you. Deft hands, fine tools. Oh, this is totally a must-have for me personally. There's a spirit rune schematic that is locked behind a Deft Hands Fine Tools door, and there are also some collection items that you're going to find behind Deft Hands Fine Tools doors. These are just doors that you cannot unlock unless you have this perk. As I said, for me, for some people they just don't take this. For me, it's a must-have. I always take this because I love unlocking doors and finding cool stuff in chests and whatever. So, love that. Forward Scouts. This is something reveals additional landmarks and points of interest on the maps in an area. I run around and explore everything as it is. Not that big of a deal. However, if you're really having trouble finding quarries or logging stands, if you've opened an area, you can always pop in here and put a point in this and then go check out the map, see where the logging stands and quarries are, because taking this makes those show up on your map, whereas normally they won't show up on your map until you actually find them. So that's kind of nice, but once you see it, you can always then reload your game, come back here, and not have spent your point on this. So if that stuff is really getting hard for you to track down, you can take this. Otherwise, I don't really find it useful. I just don't think it's worth a point. Trainee herbalists, veteran herbalists, and master herbalists. This gives you quite a bit of herbs when you take these all together. I like it. I don't usually take it. I have played around with it, and it's valuable. If you're doing a lot of potion crafting, it'll definitely give you some herbs early on that you may or may not have access to early on to do some upgrades or make some potions. So once again, with all of these, where you're going to be getting some items and you don't know exactly what you're getting, save your game, come in here, dump a point in it, check it out. If what you get is so great that you're like, man, that was totally worth a point, keep it. If not, just reload your game and put your point somewhere else. So that's it for secrets. Down to connections, nobility, knowledge. So this is our Codex entry one, as I said. Sterling reputation. You get 10% more gold for the items you sell to vendors. Meh. Yeah. It's nice, but I don't know. Gold isn't an incredibly important resource for me. You get a 10% discount on all goods. Meh. Buying goods from vendors, not that big of a deal. So elite clientele, you can see what that does. Buy and sell for 15% better. Rare stocks. They're going to offer you some rare materials for crafting. I do not find them very useful. Exacting buyers, same thing. I've never found this very useful. Only the finest, same thing. I have not found this to be very useful. Friends in high places. I have never ever taken this and then got notification that somebody was having a sale. It's never happened. I don't know if it's bugged. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just my game. I really have no idea. And then the last one is the short list. For me, I love the short list. A short list makes vendors sell you items that you otherwise would not be able to gain access to in the game. Some of the items are kind of meh, and other of the items either look really cool or they just are really cool, and you can't get them any other way. A couple of, two good examples are there's a superb belt of magic resistance, and there's a superb amulet of magic. So one increases your magic resistance by a nice chunk, and the other one increases your magic attribute by a nice chunk. And if you didn't get them if you didn't buy those items from that vendor that sells them, you would otherwise not be able to get them in the game because they don't like drop from anything that you kill, and they're not found in any containers. They only come from the vendor that would sell them, and they would only sell them to you if you have the shortlist perk. So this is a must-have for me. I pick it up every game. I love it. Inquisition, history knowledge, same thing. That's huge. Sorry. And Tevan tailoring, Imperial Court tailoring. For me, these are both must-haves. Increase your inventory by 15, and then another by 15, so you go from 60 to 90. You're totally going to be out in the world exploring, picking up all kinds of crap, and you're going to max out your inventory, and you're going to be a ways from camp, and it's going to really suck in order to have to travel back to camp or back to a vendor, sell off, and then have to come back and then walk all the way back out to where you were so that you can continue looting or whatever you were doing. The more inventory space, the better. Flasks. So when we were talking about potions, I showed you there was that one locked potion slot. This is how you unlock that one additional locked potion slot. So currently you have 2 available. You've got your health potion, you had the blank one, and then there was one on the right hand side that had a lock icon on it. That's what this one does. This unlocks that other locked potion slot. If you get into using a lot of potions, this is a definite. If you don't, then you don't need to pick it up. This is not something that I would say is a must-have. And then exclusive training. Gain 1 combat ability point for the Inquisitor only. What is a combat ability point? It is the ability tree points. So they're just giving you kind of like a free level. I don't know that it's a must-have. It's something I generally will take if I have the extra points for it, just because an extra ability point can't hurt, especially if you're trying to get at one of those circles, which increases your attributes. So spend an Inquisition point, increase an attribute by 3 points. Yeah, if it's one of your main stats like Dex, Cunning, Strength, Magic, whatever, that increases like your crit or your damage, yeah, I mean, it's totally worth it. If it was just to get another ability, yeah, I don't know that I would waste a perk point just to get an ability if I was running low on perk points. So like if you're getting towards the end of the influence tree where you're kind of getting up to level 20 and you only have like 1 or 2 perk points left and you're not sure where to spend it, then or if you're getting towards the end of the game and you're just not gonna be able to max out influence, yeah, I don't know that I would spend it on this just to get a new ability. But if it's something where it was an ability that one of the circle abilities that gave me some attribute points, I'd definitely consider it. So it's definitely worth it at that point. So that is Inquisition Perks. I hope that helped explain some things, and that is actually going to wrap up our beginner's tutorial. Thanks for hanging around and watching all of this. I know it was a long video, but I hope you found some great information here. Please feel free to drop me a line, leave some comments if you have any questions. If you don't want to put the comment in the channel, if you want to do a private comment, you can always go to the discussion tab in the channel and leave a comment just for me, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Yeah, comments, questions, concerns. If I screwed something up in the video and you're like, hey, that's not right, feel free to let me know. I'll put some annotations in the video to correct anything. And once again, I appreciate you watching. Please sub, like the video if you liked it, and keep coming back for more. So more content is coming. I'm sorry this one took so long to get up. It was long, and YouTube was being flaky, cutting off my uploads in the middle. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care.